Welcome to Nerd Church. We are jumping right back in. We've just recently recapped for the party, but in exciting news, this is our first time back all in person together in a long while.
Hi everybody, I'm here.
Very exciting. But we're going to jump right in with another dream sequence, because as Pando goes under the magical knife to begin her mystical surgery to remove the tracking device or the tracking curse, almost immediately the Raven Skull charm glows softly, and Pando, you enter a dream once again. This time the Raven is perched actually on the monolith itself, this dark stone edifice. You can see it much more clearly now. It's probably about 10 feet tall, still in better shape than most of the ruins around it, but interestingly a distinctly different stone than everything else in this crumbled area. It is not falling apart so much as it seems to be pitted, as if it were splashed with acid or burned away by some kind of magic. So it's damaged. And one long crack runs nearly all the way up its length. Eupedo is sitting on a broad stone about 5 feet away from the monolith. In this vision, she appears fully tangible, although the train of her dress is still spectral and dancing as if it's alive. Her face is a mask of annoyance, as she seems engaged in an argument that you have just jumped into the middle of. The haunting voice that you now know to be Fastiche says, "Child, your promise to me still rests unfulfilled after more than 100 years. I gave you all the power you needed and now have restored you to yourself. Delay no longer. Free me." Eupedo sighs deeply and replies, "Skull Lord, your impatience is understandable, but my mission must take precedence over your comfort. I cannot fully trust you to remain by my side yet to assist me, and my power is not yet enough to ensure your cooperation. You would do the same in my position. Your only hope for freedom is to remain my counselor and help me ascend quickly. So stop your whining and put your mind to the task." Fastiche grumbles a bit and then says, "Well, what of your caches? We squirreled away vast troves of your resources and might during the war. Send your family to gather those up." "Yes, this advice is sound, but you forget that only I can open the seals. I will need to travel myself. While I travel, you will command my family to continue the harvest. When I have recovered what is needed, we will begin the ritual. I will check in on my return from Harma Jabal before moving on to Kagayaku." And for a moment she seems to glance up towards the top of the monolith where you sit. But the vision ends before you make eye contact. I'm going to leave it there and let you all talk a little bit about what Pando potentially shares from these dreams with the party and what the party might consider moving forward, either asking Shota about, researching, or how this might affect your next steps.
Can you show?
Okay, so having had some time to strategize as players, let's talk about what your party is up to during this 3-week respite.
3 day.
3 day. 3 day.
I was like, oh shit, we were planning for 3 weeks?
And in that time, the world exploded.
Well, 3 days at Shota's. What are you up to?
Air would like to, because Air needs to buckle down and actually do her job. And is going to ask Shota if she's familiar with House Ito.
Okay.
This is the thread that Matt has been trying to get me to pull on for 2 years.
Yeah.
Literally back in going back to our princess kidnapping days.
Way back.
Yeah, we've done some stuff.
We didn't kidnap her.
And the answer is going to be no.
Bottom wasn't a huge fan.
I mean, unfortunately, that is the answer you get.
That's okay. As long as I tried.
Shota's the hedge witch that lives like in the middle of
I thought
the wilderness.
she seemed worldly.
She is not.
Okay. Well,
At least not when it comes to noble houses of the Elden Empire.
okay. Well,
She doesn't really have much for you there.
okay. Well, I'll check her off my box.
Good,
No.
good time to pull on
Are
that
we,
thread.
are we here when you're asking about it?
Well, presumably one of you is out and the other one is preparing. So I wait for a discrete time over the course of 3 days.
Yeah, that's fair.
Bottom's got itchy ears.
Well, if you're, I think
you're
if
welcome to try to eavesdrop. I
yeah, I think it's very reasonable if you're just trying to be discreet about this that
Yeah,
you would easily find a time over the course of 3 days to be like,
alone with Shota.
you know anything about Ito? And
Yeah.
she's like, who's
Who?
that?
Who?
Ito.
Who?
Ito who?
Yeah. Who the blacksmith? Yeah, down the road.
Yeah, I think that's,
Well, I tried.
unfortunately, that is the reality there.
Okay, give it another 2 years.
2
Maybe I'll ask
years.
you then.
Other Shota chats?
Yeah. Prey just wants to touch base with her after the surgery's performed.
Sure.
Just to kind of see how she felt it went. What did she detect anything unusual?
Well, actually, this is a really good point. We need to roll for her success.
For both.
Yeah, so we're going to roll for two things. The goal of this surgery was to, number one, remove the curse without harming you, and number two, remove it without the
Detect.
originator of the curse detecting the fact that it had been removed. Now, Shota's very good at this, and she has all of the supplies and things that you provided and is doing it in her own home operating theater, so she will be rolling at advantage along with her significant modifier. But first, does she do this successfully without damage? That's a natural 1 on her first roll. But her second roll is a 17 plus a
Weird.
substantial modifier. So with a 26, you are
Free.
You are in good shape.
Where she
Things-
went to pick up the magical scalpel and it slipped out of her hand. She's like, "Whoa, that could have been bad."
I'm glad I'm alone in this operating theater. Nobody saw it,
right?
right?
Yeah, she looks around.
Naked Steven.
Peeking in through the window.
Or what's the shade? The
Timothy.
Timothy, the ghost butler.
Yeah, Timothy the Shade is her. Timothy the Shade is
This world
her
makes no sense.
surgical assistant. He's handing her stuff,
And a naked
and he rarely makes a mistake. But that was the one time that she was like, "No, Timothy, that's a
No.
teaspoon, not a scalpel.
That's a melon baller for
It's
us.
an Astapotam's eyeball remover."
It's a spoon, you twit. It's dull. It'll hurt more.
The second roll to remain undetected. Her highest roll is a 6.
The highest?
That's her highest at advantage. However, with a +9, that is a 15 and still passes the DC.
Wow.
Cool.
So,
Oh my god.
Shota feels confident that she has managed to remove this from you without detection.
So did everything go as planned, or did
Everything was great. It was perfect. Went off without a hitch.
okay?
No problems whatsoever.
Was there? I just,
Timothy did great. He always does great.
Do you think that there would be any other side effects or consequences
Slight dizziness.
psychically?
Psychic side effects. Well, I mean, None-
Burnt toast.
None that I would anticipate unless there was something you weren't telling me about before you went under the knife. I mean, if I
Yeah,
began
there
the
you go.
ritual, for example, without being aware of some psychic connection you had to another person or
Right.
other enchantments that were core to your
Heck,
being or
that's the
spirit,
ancestor.
I mean,
Yeah.
those are all in the questionnaire, but you didn't put anything down, so I assume, no, I wouldn't anticipate anything. You should be, you'll be tired for a little while, but a good night's rest and you should be in good shape.
Yeah, never
You know-
lie to your lawyer, your doctor, or your hedge witch.
Yeah. Yeah, were you,
There should be a sticker that says that.
were you unbeknownst to me psychically connected to another entity, there would be real concerns,
I'm
but I think it's
Oh.
probably fine.
what,
What kind of how concerned?
just theoretically, what kind of concerns?
Well,
If you were a lab rat, you
To-
would be that.
to use the analogy of what one of these surgeon healers do,
You mean butchers?
the butchers
Yeah.
that heal without
They know-
magic.
They know what they're doing.
What I essentially do in this procedure is slice into a segment of your spirit, the essential cord of your soul, and then I separate the spell that is attached to you and rebuild what's there. But when I rebuild your spirit, I have to do it from the template of everything else I see around it. And if something foreign is woven into your spirit, attached to you through some sort of magic or possession or who knows what, I may, without knowing it, rebuild that missing piece inefficiently or inaccurately, which probably doesn't likely harm you, but can cause, if unlucky, let's call it psychic backwash or reverberations that could cause harm to those connected to you. But again, we don't have to worry about that. Everything seemed to go great.
Those psychically connected to me.
Mm.
Were there to be ones psychically?
Spiritually, psychically.
Spiritually or psychically. Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's good to know. Thanks.
Anyway, let's get you in bed, and I
Lay
need to get in
down.
bed. This has been a very long day,
Oops.
and we want to
Ray's
make
like,
sure
oh,
we get ready.
no. Okay, well, let's see what happens.
So, Potom, roll a wisdom saving throw, please.
Ooh, why am I doing this? 13?
Potom, you take 4 points of psychic damage
Damn.
during the course of Freya's surgery, and you notice your psychic connection to her snap.
So just before we go on to that, the sanctuary spell only lasts. The one that psychic is it sanctuary that's
Sanctuary prevents people from being attacked.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
no, it
spell
wasn't sanctuary. Was it heroism? I think.
Heroism creates temporary hit points and
Yeah.
buff to healing.
What
I can do this all day. What else you got?
was it? The shield spell?
No.
Anyway, it was a spell that had an end to it. So our psychic connection only lasted the length of that.
Oh, okay. Okay. You didn't establish any long-term psychic connection to her.
No, this was just a
It was
buff.
like a battle thing.
It was a buff in battle. Maybe it was sanctuary.
Yeah, what was this?
Failed save.
I don't remember you guys doing any kind of psychic connection.
It wasn't last time, it was the time before.
Yeah.
All right. Well, either way,
He was trying to hear the voice, and he only heard Chris.
Oh, but was that a spell though?
It was a spell that
Okay.
It was during battle though too, that we used it during battle.
Well, I'll take damage anyway.
I don't think we need to worry about it over much because there's more for flavor since you're taking 4 points of psychic damage during a time when you're going to have 3 long rests.
Yeah.
Okay, so
all right.
it's not.
Then I'll take it.
and then immediately take a long rest.
The listeners are not going to be thrilled about this.
Matt, how
Um,
long have you done D&D? Like playing
No, the
or
listeners are the ones that are
otherwise?
like, it's this
Since-
spell, you idiot, you're
Since
supposed to
middle
do this."
school. It's,
Okay.
20, 30 years. Yeah, probably 30 years. It's been a long time.
Why
Since
do you know how it's done?
since Advanced D&D was the most current release.
Yeah.
A D&D.
A D&D. That's what I cut my teeth on.
Mm-hmm. Lots of paper maps. That was good. Okay, so your post-op debrief is you're fine.
Yeah.
Um,
We wanted to ask Shota about Harma Jabal and Kageyaku.
Okay.
Awesome.
Any of you who are native to this continent, which is everybody except Potom, can roll a history check.
Goo got it.
So before you start picking Shota's
3.
brain, see if you're aware of these places.
Ah, air might be.
Nat 20.
Ooh.
Hey,
Hey,
for
what,
a
what,
total
what?
of
21.
21.
Just
You wanna
11
roll
for
a
me.
little dice? You wanna
Sometimes.
borrow my D20?
Oh, you
Yeah.
can. No, we welcome it.
Liquid core.
I mean, we have
traveling
them
light,
all.
but I
Yeah.
do like using the
I
dice in the
do
game.
like both, yeah.
We welcome physical
You
dice.
know that there's
Absolutely.
dice in here, right?
Strong. I have a strong
Yeah.
preference for physical dice. I just did
I
not
just-
pack any of my stuff.
Here, feel free.
They're so pretty.
Yeah,
Actually, it's far better
They're
than
very pretty.
it's far better because his
I have a
His
These are
metal dice.
clearly loaded.
yeah his metal dice. He does the whole flop. They don't really roll. They just kind of flop, and
Yeah.
he's really good at getting them to
and
flop.
then we win.
Yeah,
on the
Flop
kind
on
of high
natural
level.
20s.
Listen,
We've had some
Constantly.
suspicions, is what I'm saying.
Suspicions. Ooh, those are nice. Ooh, liquid.
Right?
Yeah.
They're pretty.
They are pretty.
And they have like gigantic numbers for
do.
those hard of seeing.
Thank you.
All right, I got some clicky clacks. That makes me happy.
Woo woo.
Okay, so we've got a 21. We've got an 11. You got nothing. Anybody else? Pando, are you rolling?
3.
3. Pando didn't pay attention to much off the island. All right.
Had a good friend from so and so.
This actually, this kind of makes some sense, just background wise. I
Sure.
think for Air, right?
Yeah.
Because Air's probably, apart from Potom, who is a bit of an outlier because he's from a different part of the world. I think Air's probably the most worldly of your party, just because Air was involved in a bit of underworld dealings, spent a lot of time with traders and
Smuggling.
merchants and
Yeah.
people coming in and out of the port. So
Warding bond.
there it is. We got there.
Sorry.
So you've heard of both of these places. That Harma Jabal is a mountain peak.
Oh, okay.
It's a specific peak in the mountain range to the north of Maib Sahir. And I think the moment you hear that, and hear it in the same sentence essentially as Kageyaku, Kageyaku is a coastal region far to the south. It's what is referred to as the shining coast or the glowing coast.
Far past Nanton.
Way south. In
Okay.
fact,
Oh.
down about here.
Okay.
This is one of the fishing villages down there. Quan Shu is a fishing village in the Kageyaku region that you are familiar with.
Okay.
And I think because you rolled a natural 20 and because you're so smart,
Yeah.
this clicked something in your mind right away. And what it clicks for you is you just heard her reference a mountain peak and a coastal town in the south in connection with caches of resources.
Right.
The research you did in the archives at the Maib Sahir specifically referenced rumors of caches of magical weapons, resources, gold that had been hidden away during the war, one of which was believed to be in the mountains north of the Maib Sahir, and one of which was believed to be hidden offshore
Yeah.
in
Nice.
the south.
So
And
does
you-
take care
yeah.
of both potential locations that I dreamt about?
Hmm?
Yes.
But a lot, this is fitting some pieces together
Yeah,
in
and you know,
Air's
Air would have paid
mind.
attention to where.
Yeah.
Money
troves
might
of-
be buried, yeah, treasure might be buried. Yeah, so that's an immediate takeaway for you.
Okay.
Then you can certainly ask Shota about any of this if you would
Okay.
like.
Is this, just for clarification, because we spoke at one time about a mercenary group,
hmm
human.
Of humans.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that the same mountain range?
So the human lands are to the north of the mountain range here.
Okay.
So if you recall, you moved from Nantong up and around the wound to get to the Maib Sahir.
Mhm.
There are passes through the mountains that lead to an area up here that is broad grasslands, and all of this territory up here is what used to be, and still is, the territory of the Griffin Lords, the
Right.
human.
Past the mountains, though, not in the mountains.
Not in the mountains, right? They rule these grassland areas as a vassal state, and somewhere up there is the city that you're referring to, and the what was the mercenary group? Purple something.
I heard it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway,
It was the mercenary group that was
those
used, yeah.
those people operate up there
Mhm.
as well somewhere.
Purple Fist? No. It's not-
Right,
God.
yeah, it was something like that. It was
It was
something
like
like
that.
a purple hand or
God, I
something
hope
like that.
not. That sounds awful.
Purple Fist.
Why?
They're picking grapes.
Why is it purple?
Do you know?
It's changed my brain.
No.
Your notes are on the screen.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, that's just the NPC list you guys can see.
So,
I
okay.
don't know what it is. Okay.
Can you show us on the map where we are located right now? I can't remember.
Yeah, so
Like
right now
right
you're,
in there,
you're right
yeah.
here. That's where Shota's
And-
house is.
And,
Oh,
sorry.
I was just gonna say, is the mountain peak, the mounds there or no?
That's
Yes.
the mountain range.
That mountain peak isn't?
Harma Jabal is in that range.
Okay.
And then I am wondering, how far was it again? How long did it take us to get to Maib Sahir? From
From
no, from where we are now. Or, how
Oh,
long did it take
it
us
was
to
like a
get
day
from
and a
there?
half.
Yeah, it was a day and a half.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I guess our other question too is, just as a point of reference on the map, where am I from?
Who am I?
you're not on this map.
I'm not on this
You're
map. Like,
north
how-
of this.
I'm north of there, okay.
Yeah.
What is up north of there?
Russia.
Russia.
I mean,
Russia.
yeah, pretty
Finland.
close.
Go to Finland.
Finland would be a very far.
Yeah, Finland.
Yeah, right,
Not
right.
Finland.
Right, no. Yes, I know.
Once we,
Is that-
have I already been healed and curse removed and good?
Not yet.
Well,
You're
we're
in between.
time is wibbly wobbly right now in our
Right.
conversation.
Okay.
Because these two might want to go do a thing,
You
Totally
definitely
fair.
but over the course of the 3 days, you have that third dream while you're under the knife. That's your experience while
Yes.
you're having this surgery.
And I want to ask her some questions just to see if she knows, but obviously it has to happen after I have the dream.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, fair. And we can do that too. So if we want to generally have the conversation about what does Shota know, let's just do that collectively right now. So all of you are talking to Shota at different times, but before you pack up and depart Shota's place, what are questions you want to ask her or things you want to talk to her about?
Well, we know that you're packing up to, that your plan is to leave your house. Where do you think that you'll go? Do you have a plan of where you would like to go?
So I think she has thought about. I think Shota has thought about this for a couple days. She didn't immediately have a plan, but by the time you all are talking about what's next, she is pretty settled that she is going to head to the Maib Sahir.
Okay.
While she isn't a huge fan of their politics and she has some frenemies there, let's say, you'd find out, is actually a graduate of the Maib and feels a certain amount of safety there, and so that is her short-term plan
Okay.
to go to the Maïv and from there decide what she will do next. She even hints that at one point she may have picked up a few sections as an adjunct at the Maïv back in the day, and maybe she'll make a few coins before she heads out
This is
again.
This is how you can get your own naked Steven.
Is Stephen going to wear clothes? Is what I would like to know if they go to Mike's here.
It
My
seems
Lisa here.
Unlikely.
Unlikely.
Is that?
University.
It's
Like
the
a
university
wizard's
town.
school?
See,
You
it's
bet.
above the wound.
Sweet. Oh, that. Okay, I would have
That's
thought
where,
that way.
and
wrong.
that's where Potham wants to go.
Yeah.
Right when we were talking about
Yeah.
heading back to university,
It's,
that's the location he's
Okay,
interested
so
in.
It's
Not
the most
back in-
it's
Who
the
is
most
in
famous
Malone?
college of magic in all of Tellus, which is this world. Shota the hedge.
It's also where what did you rename him, Mr. Poopy Pants?
Oh,
It's where Mr. Poopy
dung
Pants.
liquor.
Dung liquor,
yeah.
yes.
Dung liquor.
Dung liquor.
I really applaud you for trying to make sense of any of this. This
Is
uh,
alma mater Greek?
Yeah.
Latin.
I think it's
or
Latin.
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 Yeah, Latin.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Shota?
Yes. Post dream. I would like to ask Shota if she knows. I tell Shota my dream, just like I tell you guys. So my questions for Shota are as follows. What does she know about this little raven skull? Has she ever encountered something like this before? That's one. And two, what insight does she have that she wants to share on potentially Upita or the context of the dreams? Like, has she ever heard of Vestiche? Has she ever heard of this happening in history? Does she understand the true danger of it? Is Upito really all-encompassing bad? Because she talks about wanting to stop some demons, and my minimal knowledge of demons is boo.
Demon's bad.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, help an elf out, girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess to piggyback on that. I feel like we've gotten the Minotaur's take on Yapido. It's bad. But what's the outsider's take on Yapido?
What's Yupito's take on Minotaurs?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
What happened there?
I mean,
Fair and balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Nice. Okay.
We're
So
open-minded.
Mm-hmm.
let's tackle these one at a time. Mm,
Big Lord.
Shota, yeah, we're going to big lore visit here. Shota asks if she can hold the Raven Skull charm.
I'm gonna let her.
Okay.
Here.
Yeah. So she takes it carefully from your hand,
you just toss it to her.
but she
Whip it at her.
she actually takes it with a piece of velvet cloth in her hand. So she's not making physical contact with it.
And she knows about my connection, given the dream. Like, she knows all of that.
Yeah. Yes.
'Cause
So
I've
whatever
sh-
you
I've
if you
shared
shared it all with her, then
Soul bared.
yeah. Soul bared. All right. No subtlety from Pando. She gives it all away.
Classic.
I stole a candy when I was.
I just start crying.
Right. So many mistakes showed up. So she takes it. She places it in a shallow copper bowl. Pulls out the thumb that you may recall from earlier, and sort of waves this semi-mummified thumb over the top of the copper bowl, and you see a gentle glow suffuse the area above the charm. The charm itself does not react in any way. She sits there for a good 3 or 4 minutes, and then picks it up and returns it to you. And she says, what you have here is ancient. it's actually a little shocking to me how old this is. I can't be sure,
Dang.
but everything that I read in the essence of this charm tells me that it could potentially predate even the quickening. This is old magic, tied deeply to the spirit of Tellus. It's wrapped up tightly in the wild. And as such, it is no surprise that it connects with you, a druid being tied to the power of the wild. If I didn't feel certain that the gods were no longer present on Tellus, I would say divine intervention placed this in your path. Having said that, it is not raw power encased in this charm. It's something different. This is an incredibly powerful item, but not a brute force magical implement. It seems to connect to the spirit of a not quite divine entity, perhaps a former avatar of a god whose echo still lives in the weave of Tellus, perhaps to a first-hand
An echo of a god.
I know. Hello. We're talking about you. All good.
Echo of a god.
perhaps a first-hand agent of one of the gods who was abandoned in their realm when they stepped away. It's hard to say, but this spectral raven, this spirit that you describe connecting with, embodying, it is no simple raven. It is riding currents beyond just the air. It's riding the currents of time and space. These visions are no mere dreams. The charm clearly connected to or imprinted on this being, this Eupedo you described, possibly because she is extremely powerful, possibly because she is drawing on corrupt magic that is the antithesis of the wild, possibly simply because she's woven into the strands of fate extremely powerfully. It's hard to say, but there's a reason that the raven is bringing you back to her again and again. The only other thing I can tell you about this charm is that there is real danger here for you. This is not magic to trifle with lightly. You are attaching yourself to a being of almost ineffable power that is stretching your soul across bounds it was not meant to traverse. And it is coming very close to a being that is also extremely dangerous, and from everything you describe seems intelligent, thoughtful. You need to be careful.
Is there any chance that this can feed back to Pando? If Pando can see Eupedo, can Eupedo see Pando?
Kind of like the Plantier thing. Plantier, you know him, that thing.
I don't see any reason why not.
It totally almost saw me in the dream. I woke up right before we. Question on that whole being careful thing though. I don't control it. So do you have any words of advice on? Because if I go to sleep, which as an elf I just have to meditate, but every time I do and get deep enough, dreamland.
I do have advice on this. You need to exert control. You already described the psychic battle you undertook when you touched this for the first time. In that moment, you dominated the device itself, which is not the same as dominating the spirit to which you're connected. But that means you have agency in these dreams, in these visions. You perhaps weren't aware, but now you are aware. I'm making you aware. Act in the dream. Don't be a passive participant.
Ooh, explore the dream.
See what this raven spirit will allow you to do instead of just being a silent observer. And if you need to exit, exit. And then to be frank, there may be a moment where your best choice is to abandon this item. Separate yourself from it. There's genuine risk here. I'm not asking for it for myself, but you need to be cautious.
How do you do that once you've attuned to an item?
You can mechanically you can unattune to an item anytime. It's the reverse of the process. It takes a little time.
Sure. And I'm guessing it doesn't come without risk.
Well, that depends a great deal on the nature of the item.
Of course it does. Probably
Some
the
items
nature
are
of my dice.
some items are cursed, and you can't unattune from them
Sure.
without a remove curse spell or sometimes much more powerful magic, depending on the nature of the curse. Just a general fun fact,
Yeah.
not applicable in any specific
So
situation.
she doesn't necessarily, Shota doesn't necessarily know Upido or
Pastiche.
Well, that's the
Mr.
second
Skullboard.
question that you asked.
Yeah.
Bones festies.
So, Upido is not someone that Shota is familiar with.
Okay.
So she doesn't have insight for, this is all news to her. Everything you've brought to her, everything you've told her
Stuff.
about Upido, she doesn't have background on this. This is a legend from 100 years ago
Yeah.
that was a big deal in this region, but you're not really sure how old Shota is, and
Right.
she basically tells you, like, I've never heard of this.
Okay.
She's also never heard of Vestige, but she does stop you as you recount the dream when you share the title Skull Lord.
All right. We're getting somewhere.
She stops you and says, I'm sorry, you're sure Skull Lord
1000%.
was the term?
Yep.
Mr. Skullboard.
When you confirm, she looks deeply concerned.
You look worried, Shota.
I am, and so should you be. The Skull Lords were thought to be a part of ancient history.
Oh, there's plural. Skull Lords. Oh, okay.
And they are among the most terrifying entities that have ever roamed this continent. Have you ever heard the name Vecna?
Yes. I am aware.
Have you ever heard the name Vecna outside the context of Stranger Things?
No.
Excellent.
Extremely familiar.
Vecna, you say?
So,
Yeah.
just as a fun lore reminder, you have heard of Vecna outside the context of Stranger Things. Because, again, in your research at the Maib Sakir, in the archives, because you rolled crazy good, one of the bits of information that you pulled out of the records in the archive was that Upido's powers, one researcher theorized that Upido's powers seem connected in some way to the ancient history of an incredibly powerful lich named Vecna. And it was in
How do you
this
spell Upido?
YU-PITO.
It's a losing
Why
battle.
you
-PITO.
has I'm gonna have to do a replace all.
Fair. So,
You like UPITO.
she goes on to tell you, I'm no expert in this, but what I remember from my learning at the Maib, and there are records there, and some who study the history of Vecna, but Vecna was an elven mage who rose to great power, became the preeminent archmage of the empire long before the current emperor rose to power. Vecna's powers were incredible, nation-shaking, and many thought that he would rise to become the next emperor. But he became ill, and as his illness grew, so it seemed did his paranoia, and he shifted all his attention to a desperate search for a way to extend his life. And unfortunately, as some pursuers of magical secrets do, he delved into the darker arts, and eventually tucked away his soul and became a lich, becoming effectively immortal and giving himself hundreds of years to continue to research and grow his power until he became not only one of the strongest archmages on Tellus, but also one of the most terrifying villains that this continent has ever seen. This Eupedo you describe seems terrifying, but is a footnote compared to what Vecna did. He ruled half of the known world. His undead armies marched across the lands and nearly wiped out most living societies. And his most powerful lieutenants and generals were known as the Skull Lords. These
You're upset by that?
Yeah.
extremely
Oh.
these extremely powerful entities were created by Vecna. He bound 3 devoted souls together, merged them into one being, and created incredibly powerful 3-headed undead warriors with strong magical powers, enchanted armor, tied to the plane of existence known as the Shadowfell. They led his armies, they harvested souls on his behalf, they expanded his kingdom.
When you say they, you mean the 3 that have
No.
been joined, or you mean
There were
many of these 3-headed
there were
beings?
there were more than one Skull Lord. And
Which skull do you look at when you're talking about? Of the 3, the center, the right, or the left?
you just run.
You have to change equally or they get really jealous.
Right.
The rude to stare at a single skull.
History tells us that in the end, in the final battle against Vecna, when he was weakened but not yet defeated, the Skull Lords betrayed him, and in the end were one of the only reasons that Vecna was destroyed, or I should rather say scattered, because a being as powerful as Vecna, someone who nearly ascended to godhood, it is hypothesized that he can never truly be destroyed, that parts of his soul may still exist in the world today.
Voldemort deal.
The Skull Lords are terrifying powers, and if this Eupedo is truly speaking to a Skull Lord, you have much bigger problems than you described to me when you first arrived.
To be fair, I hadn't had the dreams yet.
And this was not me questioning your
Hey,
Talk about a
lady.
meat sprayer
Right.
situation.
There's so much meat everywhere.
this is all the more reason that I should return to the Maib. If a Skull Lord is anywhere within 500 miles of me or any major settlement, it is a significant concern. And in
Did they
fact,
just kill everybody? Is that what they did?
the Skull Lords,
Yeah.
they were the generals that led Vecna's army.
Gotcha. And was he about like dominance and like everyone dying, or was he just kind of like this emperor where he's like, only my people are going to be the best people and everyone else is a lesser citizen?
I mean, there's a lot of history about Vecna, and she can't give you like all the detailed lessons, but
And she just hands you a book. She's like,
Right.
"Read it up."
here, read this.
I
But
would love
the,
a book.
the shorthand is basically like Vecna. What Vecna cared about first was living forever,
Okay.
and then once he became the Lich and discovered that the way to live forever is to consume the souls of other
Right.
people, then he was like, well, more souls is better than less souls, so let me raise a nearly unlimited army of the undead and harvest the souls from across the world until I am a god.
Gotcha.
And so he went from I want to live forever to I want to ascend to godhood.
Gotcha.
And everything he did was in pursuit of that ascension.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, but good.
Hey,
You know-
set a goal, go get it.
You know, we don't have that kind of ambition anymore. You know, in this country, that's what's
Nobody
wrong.
wants to work.
That's what's wrong.
Nobody wants to work anymore. Nobody wants to ascend to godhood
No,
anymore.
yeah, whatever happened to that?
No, man, I want to change genders and, you know.
Yeah, what the heck?
Yeah, a bunch of
No.
blue-haired.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so yeah, so there's a little Vecna history lore dump for you from Shota.
Thank you.
She looks shook by the fact that you dropped the phrase Skull Lord about something that is like even in her orbit.
Now
Also, did I mention that they talked about going to what seems to be the mountain range near where you want to go?
So in that part of it, she knows exactly where Harma Jabal is.
Okay.
Right.
Just as Air is aware where it is, but she can give you a little more specific information, which is that from her cottage, the journey to Harma Jabal is probably 4 days by cricket.
Gotcha.
So
Are there settlements there, or is it just a mountaintop?
Harma Jabal itself is not a lone peak, but it is a somewhat isolated peak within the range. It is
Right.
not the tallest peak, but it is distinct in that it is a little bit separated from all the other peaks.
And we would be going through the university area to get there.
Essentially, yeah, you could travel to the Maib Sahir and then north from there, or you could take a direct route.
Okay.
Uh,
Alright.
mhm. And it is her intent to travel in that direction. So should you decide to head in that direction, she will travel with you at least until the Maib or until you exited the wound and go a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you for all of that.
Do
That was a lot.
you, Pando, do you feel like you need to do anything else in the wound while we're here? Do you feel like,
I don't. No. It's weighing a little heavier on me now, this Upido thing. Mostly because I don't really want a Vecna stitch.
whether you want
I know, right?
No,
Yeah.
I'm getting Vecna vibes.
I don't want it.
It's giving
It's
Vecna.
giving Vecna. This whole thing is now giving Vecna.
Yeah.
I think
Oh,
over
also fun fact, your Upido counter is at 24 now.
Of course it is. These are how many days since someone released her.
He's like, yeah.
Whoops.
I got
I'm just a tiny
I
hella
don't.
smart.
I don't
24
regret.
days.
I don't regret this.
Yeah, no.
I regret nothing.
I've been really super smart for just over 2 weeks. 2.5.
Worth it.
Hashtag worth it.
Yep.
Hashtag worth it.
All right, my friends. Anything else you want to poke Shota about?
Oh,
Just
Or is it-
clarifying, we are curse free, tracker free.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, we
okay.
gotta
Have
roll.
you
We gotta roll
rolled?
for you. All right. So-
oh no, he'll roll for
Liquid
you.
Oh, okay.
dice. First to discover if there is pain and suffering.
Come on,
Add
Chris,
advantage. It's a 13 and a 7. 13 is
Oh.
22. you're good. She does a great job.
Oh,
She's very
nice.
good at her job.
Thanks.
Now let's find out if she managed to
Professional.
do it discreetly.
Mm.
Natural
That's
20.
important.
We don't have to re-roll
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Okay.
So
She practiced on me.
she's
and
like,
then
we're
she-
good. We good.
We got-
We're good.
Timothy was not in the room.
Yeah, she's like, you know what, Timothy, take a day off.
Yeah.
Right.
Take a break.
Perhaps
Go float
make
around.
some tea.
Then
Float
Nick and
around.
Steven, come and help me.
Go whisk around the woods.
Go make some tea for Freya.
Yeah.
She's
Make
recovering.
Make a fruit plate.
Fruit plate.
I think Aaron and I were going to travel to town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forget what we were going to do in town, but
Just
we're
Check out the
Investigate the-
village
yeah.
where the
Yeah.
zombies were.
Yeah, so there was you encountered refugees from a village that was attacked by ghouls,
remember.
and Air had suggested that you could go investigate the scene.
Ghouls. Let's do it.
Ghouls.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
haven't changed anything, but I'm gonna leave in 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
3
Ah.
minutes.
Yeah, 3 o'clock is due to my poor planning. I'm having to leave at 3 o'clock.
That's okay.
It's all good.
You guys keep scheduling things in the middle of a business day.
Weird.
I know. I know.
Kind of fun. I
But
like
like
it.
my business days are like evenings and weekends, which sucks because that's
Read
normal
the
people's off
shirt.
time.
Read the shirt. So incredibly important and appropriate. Today.
Oh, I thought you were saying important. Was like so incredibly important.
Yes, that too.
So important that you call off work and just play Dungeons and Dragons.
I
Or
can
their
pretend
cats.
to be
Bring
your
your
mom,
cats.
and I will call them.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, my son is ill.
Okay, so you are roughly a day's travel
Okay.
from this village. With your crickets, it's not a problem to get there. Shota is aware of this village. She occasionally swings through there either for supplies or to help him with medical issues, crises,
Right.
things like that. She's friendly with the villagers.
Shota, can we pick you up anything?
Yeah, anything, yeah. And
Shota, can we pick you up anything while we're out?
You need some chips.
did you pick up our mail there? Does-
Yeah.
If
Great, we're gonna turn Potham into the mailman.
Yes.
Oh, how life imitates art.
Yep.
D10. Sorry, I just had to roll a Upido day. 3. Okay. Ooh, that's a good one.
Oh,
Just things, just move.
Just
Things are
stuff.
moving.
Just things.
Clocks are turning. Things are moving. All right. So Shota gives you guidance to get there. She is concerned because she had a friendly relationship with the people of this village, and so she's
Yeah.
grateful that you're willing to go check on it. When you arrive on the outskirts of this village, you can both tell immediately that this is not going to be a pleasant visit.
Sure.
First of all, it is very quiet except for the sound of ravens and other scavengers.
Right.
And as you get closer, you can smell the stale smoke from what appears to be a fire that has spread across part of the village. This has been gone long enough that nothing is on fire. There are no embers still, but it smells like damp charcoal and rotting meat as you approach this village. Like the worst barbecue. As you get a little closer, you see no signs of life other than wildlife. Nothing seems to be stirring in the village. And as you wander through, it's a weird juxtaposition. There are parts of the village that are utterly destroyed. You can see the doors of homes that are bashed in, the door jambs covered in claw marks, window shutters shattered, splattered with blood. You can see corpses dragged for many feet through the streets, entrails stretched out behind them.
Oh, pleasant.
And then, oddly, just half a block away, areas that look completely untouched, but abandoned. Doors hanging wide, belongings strewn on the ground, clothing, valuables,
Right.
a child's toy laying in the mud.
I'm gonna say child.
Yeah, any bodies?
Might be some of those.
many bodies.
Oh, there are bodies.
Yes.
Ghouls and people, or just people?
There are a few. There are a few ghouls, heads destroyed,
Right.
stretched out in various places.
Anything
the-
that stands out in the village, or is it just mayhem?
Roll an investigation check. Anything in particular you're searching for?
Do it at advantage because I'll help.
I am looking for signs of survivors.
Okay.
Dang, apparently I thought I could just grab my app. Here, let me through. Yeah.
Here. Oh.
Ooh, that's pretty high. I think it's +1, so it's 19 plus 1. 15 plus 1, so 20.
20.
Non-natural.
Okay. You all case the joint pretty quickly, and there are two different stories that reveal themselves from the evidence. Two different stories of survival.
Oh, actually, it's +4.
Oh, much better.
Even better.
So, one story of survival seems to resonate with the group that you met on the road.
Okay.
There in this area of the village that I described as not destroyed, right? But where it's clearly abandoned, but the doors are not ripped off the hinges, the buildings are not burned down. There's a small area near the edge of the village where a few homes looked like, again, they were abandoned, and there are cart tracks leaving the village, heading in the direction of the road where you met these refugees. And these homes, it's not like they're tidy, but there's not stuff scattered everywhere around. Your sort of tracking efforts seem to suggest that these people saw the danger from a little bit more of a distance and made a very rapid decision to just GTFO instead of holding on to see if they could defend themselves
Right.
or whatever. Like, they just bailed.
Left. Yeah.
Whether that was cowardly or smart, they got out before
Yeah.
the bulk of the ghouls could get past anyone who was resisting and got out of sight fairly quickly. That's what it seems to suggest.
Do what we gotta do.
But the other sign that you find is a little different, and it is within the destroyed area. In one of the buildings, what looks to be a combination mill and bakery sort of facility, kitchen, communal kitchen, there is a single door set back in this stone building that is not broken down. There are scratches all over the outside. There's blood splattered around this building on the exterior, but it appears that this one door never was penetrated.
Air would like to open this.
I was going to say, Pada would like to investigate the store before we
Right.
open
Oh,
it.
actually, I have a magic wand that I've never used. That is a
Ooh.
detect traps wand.
Oh yeah.
The Wand of Secrets. Yeah, it's a good wand.
Look, it's good
When
for
you
checking
remember it
traps.
exists, it's a good wand.
Checking for traps is important, but just in general, from a
Yeah.
engineering standpoint
Sure.
of the makeup of the house and why this door, does this door make sense where it's at?
Yes. So again, this is not a house. This is more
Or the
of a
shop.
community building.
Sure.
Right? And it's clear to you that this door is the door to it's not a grain silo, but the storage area
Okay.
where milled flour would be stored, most likely. So a fairly significant room probably exists beyond this, based on what you've seen from the outside, but a room with no windows. It is meant to keep rats out. It's meant to protect. This is a door that doesn't have a crack barely at the bottom, right? It's not big enough for something to slip inside of. This is the kind of room that is built to keep out vermin.
Okay.
And it's a heavy wooden door with just a big iron ring on the outside that
Let's-
opens. It opens outward.
Let's check for traps first, and then Potham would like to investigate how we could possibly go about opening this door.
Okay.
Air waves around her wand of secrets.
Right.
I might have to get rolling soon.
Well, thanks for coming.
Rolling, like with your dice.
Nice,
Oh,
nice,
oh,
nice.
oh.
Okay.
You're gonna be at Katie's today?
Yeah.
We're gonna go at
We're gonna go
Vanguard.
Vanguard.
So you wave the wand of secrets and expel a charge, and a little pulse sort of extends from the wand in all directions, and you see no reaction from anything around you, telling you that this area is free of secret doors and traps.
I hit it against the table just
It sparks and fizzles,
Yeah, like-
cracks in half, and it's a very fragile wand, and you smash it.
First time I use it, it doesn't find anything.
Some people would be happy to not find secret traps.
not this girl.
Dang it! Why can't there be more terrible traps
guys
that
have a
suck my
red-
soul out?
Red would be thrilled to not find any traps. Just forgets to check most of the
Red,
time.
Red wouldn't check, but he would be thrilled to not find them. Upon closer inspection of the door, you recognize very quickly that this door, while not locked, is clearly barred from the other side.
Okay.
Okay. Well, so Potham would like to figure out an engineering way of getting through this
Is
door.
there a lock to pick?
No, there's no lock. There's just an iron ring,
Oh,
and when you
I was
pull on
going
it,
to say,
it should
actually,
swing out. It doesn't move. There's
I'll say one thing. This is the most this campaign has had the fewest
Traps?
pickable locks in any D&D campaign I think I've ever played.
I think that Freya was
This is
on.
so common.
I think that Freya was onto something, and Potham just kind of looks at air for a moment, and reaches out his fist and goes,
Oh, it's an accident there.
I know I'm not there, but I'm excited.
After a long pause, you hear no response.
Nice.
And pretty soon nobody answered.
the phone rang and rang.
And pretty soon nobody answered.
Okay. Well, now we go. Now we do the engineering. Is there a
Air would like to just to be sure. Would like to vocalize towards the door, and
Okay.
say, "Look, we can do this the hard way, the easy way, or the hard way. You can either come out. We're friendly.
That sounded really friendly. You opened really friendly.
Or
We can do this the easy way or the hard way.
Highway for friendly.
I'm really friendly. That's why I just threatened you with violence.
I just don't want to hurt anyone.
Negotiation class one time.
I also would like to let you know that getting through this door for me isn't very hard. So it's either we could do this the easy way or an
Or the
easy
less
for
easy
me
way.
way.
But I do have a +8 in persuasion, so
Roll it.
Ooh, yes.
18 plus 8, 26.
26.
Okay. All right.
There is a
That's
hesitant pause
I'm very friendly."
and no response.
Okay, I don't care anymore.
Oh, now we gotta. No, we gotta blow the lock.
Okay, yeah.
We may have to blast. Which is the line from Back to the Future 3. Yeah,
Okay.
no, I'd like to take an engineering standpoint of removing this door.
I gotta go, but you guys tell me what's behind this door.
Oh yeah, we
You
will.
got it.
I mean, there's a variety of ways you could tackle this. You're a smart guy.
Yep.
You could create a tool that
Stupid smart.
saws through the wood. You could attempt to use some kind of leverage. You could ask your steel defender to bash it down. Like, you've got a lot of
Yeah.
choices.
So I guess.
What you are facing is a heavy oak door with what you imagine is a heavy wooden beam preventing it from swinging out towards you. and the hinges of said door are not on your side. They're not visible to you.
So yeah, so no pulling of the hinge bolts. Yeah, let's let's go the tools way. See if we can just kind of hollow out a little corner enough that Potom can sneak through.
Sure. So I'll say without a great deal of difficulty, Potom can create it's not quite a power saw, but something that can
Yeah.
do some serious damage
This
to
little
this door.
attachment to the phaser that
Yeah.
it creates the first sawzall.
You know, or burns away at this thing for a while, but you make fairly rapid progress through it. I mean, we're talking about 15-20 minutes. The door is thick. It's a good 4-inch thick door. Like this thing's robust. This was built to protect the village's entire food supply, or some of its most important food supply, let's say.
I think that once the saw is through, that Potom gets the saw through, that the Exocom takes over to
Sure.
do the manual labor of actually sawing.
So I think Potom notices this right away and has some thoughts about it. But the moment that your tool actually gets through the door, you can hear the change in air pressure as there's almost a suction event through the door inward.
Oh.
This door was
Sealed.
sealed.
I know, right?
I think that there will just be a quick little look at air, the whole like, ooh, oh.
Ugh, did we release
I think-
something else?
I think air doesn't.
He did.
I think air doesn't get to the conclusion as fast as you do
Yeah.
because your brain's on overdrive. But it's very obvious to you now why there was no answer.
There was no air inside. All right. Oh, where are we gonna find it there? All right. But yeah, no, we keep going.
Okay. After another 15-20 minutes or so of work, the Steel Defender manages to reach one of its appendages through and knock the bar off of the door. The door swings open, a little squeaky on old hinges, and what you see inside is a somewhat ironic tale of survival from this attack. It is clear that a family you suspect, probably the miller and his wife and their 2 children, took refuge in this room and sealed the door against the attack of the ghouls. But you can see now that when the door was attacked, some of the grain that had spilled out, some of the flour, had fallen down and actually sealed the very small gap beneath the door. And unbeknownst to the miller and their family, their oxygen slowly depleted, and it appears they fell asleep and didn't wake up. The flour's fine. There's no vermin in the room. But
Is there
Talk about
anything?
fresh.
Yeah.
Is there anything else in this room that any hidden doors, any valuables?
no, I mean, what I will say, if you all want to like straight up ransack the village, there's some gold and valuables around. Most people were in such a panic in the attack, it seems they didn't like grab their coin purses or anything like that. Like the miller didn't drag a chest of gold in here or anything. But the ghouls also weren't interested in that. So basically all the money of the villagers is around. So if you all are comfortable taking that, you can have it.
I would imagine that Air is very comfortable taking that, and Potom will take a share of
allow it.
Yeah.
with-
that. The other
Bad will allow it.
the other thing in ransacking is there.
There's a total of approximate value 97 gold pieces that you managed to loot from the entire village. If you dedicate real effort to like digging through people's homes, checking all of their pockets, looting corpses.
Ooh.
Right? If you go full disrespect mode, 97 gold.
Well, I believe that would be an air thing.
Yeah, air.
Yeah,
air.
Panda's not there to put any feelings on it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think we can play air here and just say she's like, they're gone.
Right.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter to them.
Yeah.
That's
The
air.
gods don't live on Tellus anymore. Nobody's watching.
Um,
I got bills to pay.
Got
If there's
boxes to
anything else
feed, you know what I
besides
mean?
For
gold
real.
And then-
pieces, like,
Got a hungry box.
Well, and that's what Potham is after now. Is there an apothecary that would have potions and
Oh yeah.
So this is a very small settlement.
Uh-huh.
There is not even a general store here. This is the kind of small community that is. It's more like an outpost where people were surviving together. Having said that, I certainly think you could easily find some basic herbs, alchemical ingredients, things like that. But potions, I'm gonna give you I'll give it a roll. 15 or higher. That's a 2. No, there's really nothing of magical value left in this village.
Okay, so it wouldn't be worth it to say Potham would like to do an investigation check for cool stuff in the village. Potham would like to do an
You can
investigation
certainly
check
try.
for cool stuff in the village.
I know my character is not in this yet, but like I want to know why this village, if there's not much there, you know, are you guys gonna?
16 for cool stuff.
You don't find any cool stuff.
Okay.
This is a poor village
Yep.
on the literal border of a magically corrupted wasteland. They were just trying to survive, and they got wiped out by a troop of ghouls.
Yep.
Yeah,
Ghouls.
troop of ghouls. It's unfortunate.
Troop of ghouls. Oh, that's a
Sounds like a
bad-
It's a
great
good band
name.
name.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a good band name. Troop
I'm
of
gonna
ghouls.
write that down right
Yeah.
now. Troop of ghouls.
I
Hey
will.
everyone, we're Troop of Ghouls. Get ready to rock.
We're so grateful to the Decemberists for letting us out.
It's giving Vecna.
It's giving
Our
Vecna up
punishment.
next. Awesome.
And then after that, racing your pedo.
Here's what I'll give you for free for your investigation check is there is also a very obvious path out of the village that the ghouls followed, which is interesting in the fact that it doesn't pursue the survivors whose trail you found leading away from the village towards the Maib Sahir.
Oh.
Instead, the ghouls very clearly enter from due south, and then after destroying half the village, depart from due north. In fact, even while raising the village, they deviate very little from their path.
Oh, so they're heading to the Harmage of all.
Maybe.
And these are the things
Well, that's
that
the part that's not.
previously the ravens saw. When they walked, they just walked in a straight line, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. What your observations have been so far all hint at the idea that these undead, once raised, are headed in a very straight line to whatever destination they've been assigned.
And then they would just destroy if they encountered on their path.
Opportunistic
Right.
destruction seems
So
to
that's
be-
why it's that little village. Because one of my first raven dreams was they literally just like if there's a tree, they're gonna like walk through, like just bust it down. If there's like, what was it, Dungeons and Dragons, the movie?
Yeah, the paladin
did-
from
yeah.
the Dungeons and Dragons movie that just walks over the rock instead of around it. Like,
Right.
that's the behavior
So
pattern.
it sucks for the village,
Opportunistic.
Sucks.
but they weren't seeking out the village.
Okay.
Doesn't seem. That's what you would take away from. That's what the data suggests, right? When Potham looks at this, there's a narrow path of ghoul tracks going into the village, not dead center, right? It doesn't, they were just moving on this path, and then it intersected part of the village, and that part of the village is annihilated, and then it leaves the village on a straight line. And then there's part of the village where it wasn't intersecting the line, and that part of the village looks largely untouched, though abandoned. So that's the biggest, I would say, tactical or informational takeaway from this visit, other than your corpse robbing. That's the biggest takeaway from this visit to the village.
Okay. I think that we really gleaned everything that we can here. Return.
Okay. All right, back at Shota's place, you have reached I would say it is the evening of day 3. Surgeries are complete. Pando is resting. By the next morning, there's nothing holding you back from departing. So the most important question on the table in my mind is, what's the party doing the morning of day 4? When the sun rises on your 4th day at Shota's place, which will be day 25 on the Upido counter, what's happening?
So I believe that we've agreed to go to the Maib Sahir, back to the Maib Sahir, so we can go along with Shota. If she's ready to depart to go, we can go with Shota to the Maib Sahir.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. The Maib, as I mentioned, is about a day and a half travel away. But the first full day of that travel is in the wound. So I am.
Can I just get these back from you?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
I see you tonight.
You can also take them too. I've got my electronic dice.
You'll
so.
remember to grab them?
Yeah, we can take
Okay.
Yeah.
Or-
Keep them.
Cool.
Are you sure? Or you can, just take them now. We have.
Yeah,
Okay.
just take it now.
Yeah.
Otherwise I might forget.
I don't want to.
Let's not roll the dice.
Yeah, we don't
Right.
roll the
See,
dice.
it's a little dice pile.
It's funny. I looked at my cigar box of dice as I was like, okay, pack light. I looked at my and I went, no, you don't need
No.
to take these. You have everything. You need.
I know, but
Yeah, it was dumb that it didn't even cross my mind to bring all this stuff. I was
Alright.
like, I finally have an in-person session with everybody.
Yeah, I know, right?
We're gonna bring stuff.
oh yeah, you did.
I was just excited that we were like all physically.
Okay. So your journey to the Maib will require a little more than a day of travel. Shota will accompany you. The morning of your departure, you step out of your collective rooms, and as you move towards the common space, those a little more aware among you notice out of your peripheral vision that the space seems to collapse and disappear behind you, the hallway growing shorter.
I left my glasses in there.
Sorry, gone forever. When you step into the common space, Timothy has laid out an assortment of teas and coffees and scones, fresh baked scones. You have a delightful, very early morning breakfast. This is dawn. And when you step out of Shota's residence, you see she is already standing there, fully dressed in travel garb. Travel garb for Shota is the same thing she always wears. It's this collection of what seems to be dishcloths stitched together, like a rag dress. But in addition to that, she has a sort of a leather satchel bandoliered across her chest. She has very sturdy looking boots on, and she has, this is very weird, but she has like a visor. She seems to be rocking a visor, and specifically like one that you would see like an old money counter, like it's semi-transparent on the brim, like sunglass material, like, and you're like, what is you? It is very weird. It just stands out from the whole aesthetic, but she's
She's ready to go.
rocking
She's
it like it's
confident.
just as a normal thing. So with her bean counter visor and the rest of her travel gear, you see Shota standing in the midst of her yard. The mists are swirling around the outside of the fence, and she's in an animated conversation with fully naked Stephen, who is bouncing up and down like a dog that's just been told they're going on a walk. And as she sees you step out of the cottage, she pats him on the head, and he races off back behind the cottage, and she turns to speak to you. Well, as sad as I am, I have to remind myself that this is not goodbye permanently, but I will dearly miss this place. It's been my home for so long, and though I'm a little excited to go back to my alma mater, I also dread it. But it can't be helped. She claps her hands together and brushes off imaginary dust, and then looks at all of you and says, if you don't mind, it's in the best interest of all of us if you would step outside of the fence before I lock up. And then she gestures to the gate. Around that moment, Stephen comes racing around the other side of the cottage with your crickets in tow and leads them out of the gate.
Sweet crickets.
As you step outside of the gate, Stephen is standing there with you, and Shota steps up to the gate itself. She doesn't pass through the gate, but instead stands in the middle of it and turns and faces her cottage. You can't see what she's doing with her hands, but she's clearly gesturing in some way, and you hear her mumbling some words and phrases. Her hand flicks out to the side for a moment, and you see the almost ever-present thumb wand in her hand. And she does sort of a concluding gesture with a sharp tone, and all of the fog that's now around your ankles goes flooding back. This is the first time you've seen it happen live. Goes flooding back over the wall to encompass her entire yard. She closes the gate, taps the wand on each of the lintels on either side of this low stone wall, and you see a gentle green glow start to spread from the gate, suffusing the entire stone wall. Once it makes its way all the way around the circle, the glow fades away, and there is a slight change in the nature of the fog to where it suddenly looks like you're seeing through the fog. Like it's not as dense as it was when you first approached. When you first approached Shota's place, it looked like a wall of fog that just completely obscured your vision. But now it just looks like it's foggy over here, and you can see through, but what you see through is not Shota's yard. It's what you would imagine is an illusion of a continuation of the forest. So from where you're standing, it just looks like you've come up to an area where a heavy mist obscures the forest ahead of you. She turns and faces all of you, and she says, well, I think it's time we depart. You climb onto your crickets. Pando, it's up to you whether you're sharing a cricket with someone or perhaps traveling in wild shape or however you want to do this.
Didn't you have weren't you traveling on the on your exocomp?
Yeah, but
And
I mean,
then-
I still have the utility cricket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she could travel on yours though, right?
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
be traveling on the exocomp?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, again, this is mostly for flavor. This is not going to
Yeah.
greatly
Yeah.
affect the mechanics of your travel, but just kind of good to have a visual as you roll out. The one other visual that I'm just going to say sticks in all of your minds for, frankly, the rest of your lives, however long those may be,
Oh, that's ominous.
is that Shota turns to Stephen, pulls out her thumb wand, and taps him 3 times quickly on the head, and he begins to transform.
I was wondering.
Uh-huh.
Stephen doesn't turn into another creature. he just seems to elongate a bit, stretch and grow. His torso grows a little thicker, his chest widens, his arms and legs grow a little thicker, his feet grow broader and bigger. Suddenly he's got like size 21
Dang.
feet. His hands splay out, and he looks up eagerly at her as she pulls out of the satchel she has strapped across her something that shouldn't fit inside, which is a full-size saddle, which she places on Stephen's back, his naked back.
His naked, long, flat back.
Yeah, and she straps it on underneath him and climbs astride naked Stephen, who eagerly starts bouncing around as if he cannot wait to start this journey.
Bottom's like, you can't unsee something.
No, this is going to be seared into all of your minds for as long as you continue on Tellus.
Bottom looks around for a second, seeing his traveling companions all being women, kind of just mutter under his breath, "Oh well, we should all be so lucky."
So, has everyone here seen Attack on Titan, the anime?
No. I'm not.
Okay, first of all, please do. It's so good. It's gonna hurt your soul. It's a painful, dark. It's an apocalyptic, dark story, but so good. Please watch it. But if you want a visual of what transformed naked Stephen looks like, you're gonna find it in Attack on Titan, because the creepy, weird giants that eat humans in Attack on Titan are what he looks like.
Okay.
And I'm gonna try to find one real quick. Yeah.
Let me
Yeah,
see.
long face guy. Long face guy is exactly what I'm picturing.
Oh.
Okay.
Also, nightmare fuel.
Yeah, so
I did also. What am I doing? Making it hard on myself.
here
I
he
looked
is.
up the Skull Lords. Those guys look crazy.
Here's the guy where he's got a big gun attached to him here, but that's kind of the vibe. Like
Okay.
naked Stephen just transforms into he's not that big, right? He's not big enough to strap a gun to, but he's big enough to put a saddle on, and that's kind of how he has expanded to fit the need. He doesn't look human in this state. He looks warped, but thrilled. He's so happy to be providing this service. He's giddy about it. He's not talking when he does this, by the way. In this state, he's not verbal. Vocal, not verbal. And off you set, with Shota and Stephen sort of taking the lead as they know their way around. We're going to...
Can I add just a little flavor? So, over the course of these couple of days that we've been waiting for you guys to recover, Potom has started to, like, his shield is now attached to the bracers that were on his elbows to make his swing better. Like, he's really starting to sort of become more outfitted. He's starting to look more and more like his exocomp. Like, the components of the exocomp have started to become more and more just a part of himself. So
Okay, so
while he's
like
sitting
a-
in the exocomp's chair, so there's a sort of mechanical clockwork type bracers on his elbows and arms, his knees. His shield is now, instead of him holding it, it is now attached to his arm itself, allowing him to use his warhammer with both hands.
And when you say attached, do you mean it can also detach, or it's attached to the rock?
Well, it's attached to his arm. He can take the shield off.
I didn't know if you meant like these were like becoming a part of his like.
But
Skin.
No. Oh, no.
Okay.
No, it is definitely like an
exoskeleton.
An exterior
Okay.
exoskeleton. It is, but I mean, again, he's looking more and more like the exocomp itself.
Yeah. I'm picturing there's phases of this journey that range between the very early where he's like, oh, I've got this cool attachment, right? Like I've got the Nintendo Power Glove now. Then it moves towards like the Ripley is from Aliens is in the exoskeleton lifter.
Sure.
In the cargo bay fighting the Queen, and then eventually we're headed to like Iron Man.
Yeah,
like
I guess it's
somewhere on this journey, right, on this spectrum.
like like we kind of started out. Well, I guess I've always kind of seen Potom in that suit that Ripley is in at the end of Aliens.
Yeah.
Like
Ooh.
that was like Potom riding in the exocomp.
Right.
Was this kind of he was the like riding just in a chair on the outside of this robot.
Mm-hmm.
But now it started to shift to like the beginning of Aliens, where the Marine has that really cool
Yes.
gun that she's like kind of sorting around.
Yeah.
Like there's those sorts of attachments that are like kind of becoming
All
a
right.
part of him.
Yeah.
I have a
To the
question.
point that we are.
Were you a pacifist in the beginning?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And that there is still sort of an element of that there.
Sure.
Um,
I mean, I was like,
but it's becoming a little bit more liberal, where it used to be very conservative.
Sure.
He used to be like,
well, you've seen some shit.
no actual intelligent beings. If there were beasts that were attacking us, that was a different story. Then we're gonna defend ourselves. And there was always sort of a we'll defend ourselves, but actively attacking people was out. Now that has kind of
I do like that both Potom and Pando have, in their own ways, been forced by this journey to question like fundamentally held beliefs that they came into the storyline
Totally.
with, right?
I mean, I opted to leave my life of privilege,
Yeah.
like, because I thought I was doing good, and then I did some good. I also did some bad.
Well, and you both have in different ways, but you've both taken big steps away from gentle to violent, right?
It doesn't even bother Pando. Like, I think she reconciles it by being like, oh, well, when I'm in animal form, I'm an
Right.
animal. It's still her
Yeah.
making choices.
Yeah, no, I think the journeys are very different, but I like some of the overlap and parallels of them. Like some
Same.
of the output looks the same. Like I'm gonna rip a guy's face off. I'm gonna mash a guy into a pulp.
Right.
Right. There's some similar output, but the journeys are happening in a very different
Yeah.
way. Like I think it feels to me like for Potom it is almost the analytical, like it's this brain overriding, like logic is saying I gotta murder people because the greater good and math and stuff. And Pando is kind of getting sucked into there was a power vacuum that she felt early on and fear and weakness, and then the wild suffused her and she's like, oh well, in nature, like the
Right.
eagle rips the rabbit apart, so I got talons, like let's do this.
Right.
Right, and it's a little different, right? It's like a letting go
Yeah.
for Pando and embracing some power that she felt like she was missing. And then for Potom, it's almost an intentional stepping away from his principles in recognition that the world's not as clean as we hoped, or there's
It's
something
more like
bigger.
a development of new principles of
Right.
that you know is advancing the core beliefs.
Like almost like this is a weird analogy. Do you remember the movie Lawnmower Man?
Yes.
God, I loved that movie.
Did
But-
you see the sequel?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. But like it became kind of a trope of like AI reaching a level of intelligence and awareness where it became brutal
Right.
because it was looking at things on a scale that individual humans weren't, and the implication being that if you're looking at things at scale, brutality is logical, right? Because some of this stuff is, some of the emotion and kindness and whatever is silly, and it has felt to me as an observer a little bit like that with Potom. Like Potom's mind expanded significantly. His worldview expanded significantly when he had these epiphanies about his batteries and about all this stuff. And so it was like he went from thinking he understood more about the world than most people to going, holy crap, I actually didn't, and the world is enormous, and all these things are huge, and there's so much, and this, like, now I see so much more, which caused him to question, like, were those closely held beliefs viable, right? If we're talking about world-ending danger, does it matter if I stomp this guy's face?
Right.
Maybe not, right? And the logical Potom, who's so, intelligent, is like, how can I possibly balance these two wrongs? Yeah, it's really fascinating, the arc for both of them.
I love that was the how do I balance those two wrongs, because I don't know, I'm just I'm looking forward to leveling up next time, and what that will mean for all of us.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, along with the nature for Pando, getting to see like a female from another, not just tribe, but like socioeconomic status, like you're a princess, but also you're not an elf, and so like getting to like watch you and the things you do and like train alongside you and fight alongside you, I think that has also shifted Pando's mindset too, as to like her view on what's right and what's wrong.
Almost like, what does nobility look like?
Right.
Right? 'Cause like the Elden Empire has a very narrow definition and set of cultural norms around nobility, and in the Elden Empire, nobility has everything to do with your bloodline.
Patriarchal, right? In the Elven?
Yes, and I will say there are very powerful women in the Elden Empire.
Like you still have like emperor,
but the emperor is male.
Yeah.
But that's not codified.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong, the Elden Empire is deeply bigoted.
Yeah.
But sexism is not primary
it was.
in that. If you're a pure-blood elf from a good family, that's not as relevant. There are female leaders of noble houses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. Well, that was a fun little digression. Okay, so it's time to roll a daily travel roll because y'all are moving out of the wound or in the direction of the Maib. So I need someone to roll perception, I need someone to roll survival, and I need someone to roll luck.
I have a +8 in perception.
I have a +3 in survival.
And what the luck is just a wisdom roll?
Luck's just a straight roll.
Oh, straight 20. I'll roll the luck roll then.
I'll do perception.
Oh, come on. 11.
All right, 11 survival.
26 perception.
26 perception is
Natty,
really
20 luck.
Oh,
okay.
very nice. Very nice. Okay, well, the outcome there is all good news. You've got Eagle Eye watching closely as you travel along. Shota knows the way out of the wound and is very familiar with the hazards around here. You all have traveled enough.
And we found a magical item for each of us.
And everybody gets a legendary magical item.
Oh, by the way, I do actually have dice too.
Oh, nice. So you're here the whole time.
I should have, yes. Here, if you want to use my red ones.
Oh, those are pretty.
Can I ask if it does it align with Potom to also be interested in the Raven Skull that I found? I mean, it's magic, not necessarily like technology, but I don't know, like, you just always seem to study everything.
I guess in our recap, and that my understanding was that we each kind of held it, and I just kind of figured that Potom had given it a once over at that.
That's totally fine. Yeah.
If you'd like him to examine it further.
I mean, Shota gave us a really good, I think a really deep understanding of like what we're dealing with it. I just didn't.
Pond can tell you what it's made of.
Skull.
It's made of a raven skull.
It turns out it's bone.
I've done a careful analysis.
This is a complex makeup of proteins and calcium.
Well, I will tell you this. One thing that I do think is a little interesting about this is maybe as you continue to talk about the skull charm and maybe shared with people what Shota said and whatnot, I think for Potom, what would be curious about this item is it's obvious that this is a third and distinct kind of magic. So in the same way that we identified that Potom is an expert on a whole wide field of magic, let's call it arcane, and then he encountered divine magic and was kind of like, what's this? This is different. I'm going to have to wrap my head around this, and had some time with Professor Sendak and saw a very different kind of expertise in this other field that is still magic, but not the kind of magic you had a lot of experience or knowledge about. I think what's curious to Potom about this charm is that it's the closest you've been able to look at the kind of magic that Pando taps into.
Okay.
And it is a fully distinct kind of magic from the magic you're familiar with and the divine magic you've started to research and learn about.
I just picture every once in a while, like Panda catching Potom with like a magnifying glass, like looking at her, like, what magic do you wield?
Like the tools and the experiments and the methods you would usually use to understand something, tap into it, research it, whatever, they almost don't touch this. And I think that's both fascinating and frustrating to Potom.
Sure.
Yeah.
I can see where, even to the point that he just doesn't even want to look at it anymore.
Sure. If it doesn't exist, then I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because I think for somebody as smart and experienced as Potom, I think holding this thing for the first time and probably feeling like this isn't magical. It's just interesting.
Yeah.
And then Pando picks it up and suddenly she can turn into a raven and do stuff. And
Sure.
I think Potom's like, it's sort of a WTF moment of like, I actually know a lot about this. So the idea that this like slipped past me, what? Yeah, I think there's a moment there.
The first that I heard of the charm, this is the song that came to mind.
Right.
It's called Hundreds of Crows Squawking on a Breezy Afternoon.
A classic.
A friend of mine put it in, we post and share playlists, and she had put it into a playlist.
That's great.
So there we all are, like not expecting it.
Yeah.
So you're like listening to some music, then all of a sudden the song comes to the end, and then there's just a whole bunch of crows, and the outcry from people when it got to that, like, whoa, Faye, what is happening here?
Yeah, no, it's deeply weird. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Nice. Well, based on your very, very good rolls, you all have a great travel day. And you actually make better time than you anticipated or than you did on the way here. You avoid environmental hazards. You don't encounter any creatures that slow you down. And you actually arrive at the Maib in a day's time instead of a day and a half.
Sweet.
And so after only a single day on the road, you find yourself back at the Maib Secure. Should you wish to journey from the Maib, well, let me say this. From here, as I see it, you have a set of options to consider. Shota is going to stay. But from here, you could travel to the Harma Jabal in approximately 3 days by cricket. You could alternatively begin traveling southwest towards Kagayaku, the glowing coast. Asking around from here, I mean, now that you're back in the Maib, you have access to people who really know stuff and have fantastic maps, and a quick journey to the library can give you a lot of information about these things. The Glowing Coast is probably about a 12-day journey by land on Cricket, or you could go 4 days by Cricket back to Nantong, and then it's about 2 days by ship if you paid a ship to take you down to the village of Quan Shu. Alternatively, you could go back to the Wound and putz around, or do kind of whatever you want, right? Like there's no railroad here, but those are the kind of the options from that. Those are the approximate distances and directions from the Maib, and the counter's at 25.
My friends, what is keeping us here?
Save
I
the world.
just, I mean, yeah, but can't we do that in so many other ways?
What ways are you thinking?
I'm thinking that this isn't our problem. Sure.
We do have a way to we do you know, have an exit strategy now.
As
We're
you
not
haven't
connected.
failed to point out, I may have, for my own gain, released Geppetto. Putting all of that aside, the Minotaurs, have captured her once before.
They are the most equipped to capture her again.
They are. And I question how much of this is really our problem.
So you think there's something else more dangerous?
No,
Well, I
not
mean,
necessarily.
well, ultimately, my own personal mission of trying to understand my technology better and keep it out of the hands of those that would use it to end the world. Which is essentially what we were on the path to do before we got sidetracked with Geppetto in the first place. Do I want to continue that mission? I do. I think that now that that you are no longer being tracked, I've always been voiced that going to the Minotaurs to tell them about this was not really any of our concern.
I'm glad that we did though, and I'm
Me
glad
too.
that we raised the alarm
Yeah.
on what's
Put a
going on
target
here.
on ourselves. Sure, sure.
We don't agree there. I think raising the alarm and alerting those at Maib Sayer, this is not, that has not, it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, we don't want to leave people just in the dark with something that could be.
When they
Very
Well,
terrorist.
now they know.
Yeah.
Now they know.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. Here at the Maib Sayer, you want to see Sendek, right?
Well, I would like to check in with him and just touch base on a previous conversation that we've had.
So, you know, something that I've been talking to Potom about a lot lately is something has possessed my sword. And,
Say what?
Yeah, so I've been talking to one of my ancestors lately. And I really just I'm very much feeling the urge to possibly go home.
Yes, daughter of my blood, speak the truth. Our journey commences.
I don't know if you heard that or not, but yes, he agreed.
No, definitely.
I feel
Sure.
as soon as she starts talking about her sword and talking to somebody, I feel like Potom is just kind of standing behind you with his hands on the collar of his leather armor, and he kind of is just pulling on it a little bit with his eyes wide and being like,
Something really
And
tells
Pando just
me,
wants
though.
to be supportive and is like, oh yeah, I think I may have.
Okay.
until she mentions that the whole going home part,
And then Potom steps forward and goes, there is something to that.
You know, I have been thinking that we do have very good relations with the Minotaurs too. My father could possibly help us smooth over any other lasting problems.
Right, and if they are like, you defected, we could be like, we were going for help. You know,
Yeah.
so there's a little bit of insurance there just in case it comes back and bite us,
True.
but
So I will say that at this point, I don't even know what we would do if we found Yupido. I don't, like, are we just gonna fight with our normal fighting skills? Seems like she's got an army of the undead based on my dream visions. So I don't even know what we would do if we found her right now. I still think it's a huge threat.
sure, it seems like everybody is pretty
But
worried
now it's
about
connected
it.
to my brain. So now, like, for Pando, it's a little bit more a part of her daily experience. What Yupido is planning or what's happened in the past. I don't really actually know if this is current or past that I'm seeing.
Yeah, we don't know. Or
Right.
future.
Or future. So it's a little more connected for me, but I do agree that, like, right now, I don't even know what we would do if we found her. Like, I just don't even know. You know, if the four of us would be able to do anything about stopping her.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying I want to totally be like another person's problem, but I am saying that I'm willing to focus.
On something.
If you think your technology is more dangerous and we need to get a handle on that, or that we could use it against her.
Oh, I think that there is a possibility, definitely a possibility that we could use it against her. I mean, it's powerful. Do I think that it is? If it's not one world-ending event, it's another, and I can only really focus on the ones that I completely understand.
I think Air might chime in on this, and if I'm speaking wrongly for Air, Thomas can let me know. But I think Air might chime in here to say, so I have two thoughts about this. One, I'm a fan of us not throwing ourselves into danger if we don't need to.
That's actually exactly what.
It is what
Yeah,
what Thomas
very
said before
good.
we were
You
talking
got your
about this.
characters down.
We have plenty of other things we could be spending our time on that would benefit us directly. And now that we don't have this attachment hanging over our heads where that's forcing our hand,
We have a little attachment.
I'm open-minded about that, although I have some things I need to work on. Having said that, as we think about weighing different potentially world-ending threats, I think the question is maybe less which is more dangerous and rather which is more urgent. And that's my concern, that left unattended, which of these is going to show up later in our life
Right.
and bite us in the ass, I don't really know. So I guess what I'm saying is, if we're not going to make sure this Yupido thing is wrapped up, I vote for us getting really far away from here.
Far away.
Yeah.
I don't want to stumble around into
Really far away.
a
north?
greatly evolved.
Really far away. I think maybe.
I don't love the
people-
cold, if I do need to say that.
Yeah.
We know.
I think that you're curing a skin from there. Could you make a cloak for him out of it or something?
Oh,
For-
as soon as we, well, I guess, I mean,
I do want a cloak.
they,
we could get
It
you a
would
nice
take
cloak.
it would take a little bit of time, and I would imagine
Have some time.
the artisan makers in your kingdom would have a great better deal than the university bookstore.
Oh, they know how to make cloaks.
She says with world-building confidence.
Yes.
Expert cloak makers, part of our history.
Yes.
It's canon.
So my friends, to the north?
Yes, let's talk about how we're gonna do this, though, if we are gonna go. What do we need anything else from here, first of all? And I mean, I guess the fastest way is to get to Nantong and get a ship from Nantong, but I don't know. I'm not wild about going to Nantong.
I don't think that Nantong should be in our future
I agree.
anytime soon.
I do agree. Where else can we get a ship? Where's the map?
Here is a thought. If we maybe didn't completely abandon this Yapido plan on the way to your home, we, could pass through Hama Jabal on our way to the coast.
Yeah, I'm not.
The
I'm
next
not
coastal
totally opposed to that. I'm also not totally opposed to going through some of the human settlements, maybe past the mountain range.
I would imagine that there's got to be a human settlement on the coast that we can catch a ferry, a boat.
Hire a ship.
Mhm.
Get hired on to work.
I think Air would chime in here too. The human vassal state is known far and wide as the Griffin Lords. So it's
we
also
could fly.
it's also possible there are other modes of transportation available to us.
Right.
Panda goes, I want to fly on a griffin.
Oh, I want to.
You could be a griffin.
Sold.
I like this. I like this plan.
Sold, as long as everyone's not planning to fly on me.
I guess we can check out Hama Jabal on the way.
I mean, looking at the map, it is on the way.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're in that dot right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right
We
here.
got that one.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I will tell you map-wise is that should you choose to journey on foot or
Cricket.
by land
Yeah.
to your homeland, this is a journey of months, not days, right? The passage, if you're passing through the mountains themselves, to get to Hama Jabal from the Maib, probably about 3 days, but that's to get to the base of the mountain.
Okay.
To cross the mountain range, to find a pass and cross through the range and get to the other side, will take you substantially more time, and then it's just a very, very long way by land to your homeland. So some alternate mode of transportation is going to be important if you're not planning for this to be an epic journey full of other adventures, which is also fine. But just
By
know
air or by sea.
I
Yeah.
think that, the
by land it would be this is by far the longest journey your group has potentially undertaken. It is much farther to your homeland than it is even to the capital city.
If we opted for sea or air, would we have a knowledge of how long that would take?
You have no base of reference for air travel because
Okay.
you've never ridden
Never
on,
done it.
on a Griffin. There are airships, but none of you have. Well, except no, none of you have ridden on an airship. I don't
Okay.
think
Okay.
because
Oh.
you took an ocean vessel.
yeah, I
to
took
get,
an ocean vessel. Yeah.
to get to Chakib.
Ooh, airships are fun.
Airships are cool. You don't know how fast an airship goes though.
We just don't know.
By ship, you could probably get a good estimate from folks at the Maib. I'm gonna say if you departed from Nantong, let's say, which I know is not your plan, but that's the nearest port city, to get to your homeland, not necessarily to your home city because it's inland.
To Grimm's Hammer.
Probably close to 3 weeks at sea.
Okay. And we'd still have to get to Nantong.
You would have to get to a port,
A port city.
and from a port in the region where you are now,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard. It would be based on weather and all kinds of things,
Sure.
and what kind of ship you ended up on.
And if
But
we have
that-
fights. And
The estimate you're given is 2 to 3 weeks ocean voyage
Okay.
to get to the Dragonlands,
Okay.
to the territory of the tribes.
I mean, that's less time than walking.
Much less, because it probably take you 2 to 3 months
Exactly.
by land.
Okay.
And we'll have to, I'm for making some contact with the human tribes just to see about the possibilities of air travel to here.
I'm
By
up for
Griffin.
either.
By Griffin or by airship. Just to ask.
And,
Never,
like-
never hurts to ask. Except when it does.
Right.
How close is the nearest? Is Nantong the nearest port city?
In the Minotaur territory, yes. The nearest port in the Minotaur vassal state
Okay.
is in Nantong. There are port cities in the human territory, and with some research, you could add those to your map. But they're a further journey than,
Okay.
and you'd have to cross the mountains.
By ship, like 2 to 3 weeks estimated.
From
What-
Nantong,
From
anyway.
Nantong. Yeah.
By sea ship.
Yes.
Sea ship.
Okay.
We have no reference for the airship.
Okay.
Less.
Less.
Although, as far as you are concerned, airships don't go to Nantong regularly. There's
Yeah.
not a port for airships.
Can
in
we
the-
ask
Oh well,
if
we
the
don't.
university-
We're not going back to Nantucket.
No, I'm
Yeah,
just
not
saying.
going back.
I'm just saying the
Correct.
people you're talking to and like picking their brains about
Yeah.
this, they would tell you like there's no
Right.
Nantong doesn't have an airport.
Does anyone at the university have a suggestion of where we might go if we wanted to travel by air?
Mm-mm. No.
My friends,
Let's not ask. There are minotaurs here.
we are
But I thought-
escaping.
Yeah.
And we need to keep
Yeah.
we need to keep this discreet. So before we start just
But don't we have someone who helped us literally go to Shota to get rid of our curse so we could escape?
Yes.
Yeah, he
And
was a
we
knoll.
and we discreetly asked about that.
Yeah.
So instead of, I'm just reminding everybody
I just don't
that
think
we
we
are
should ask anybody.
that we are absconding.
Yeah.
We don't want people to know where we're going and
Then
by
how
which
are we
means.
gonna learn where to go if we aren't
Well,
asking?
Well, we are already talking about going to Hamajabal, and we know that we can go up to the human settlements and see if we can get some griffins.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Human settlements where people don't know that we are escaping.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fugitives from the law.
Fugitives from the Minotaurs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as I know, we didn't do anything illegal.
And you know my dreams have told me that we may come across Yukido there.
Let me gently remind everybody
Mhm.
of the facts of the history,
Yeah.
which is that you were summarily sentenced to death
Mm-hmm.
by the Synod for your crime of releasing the ancient evil Yupido,
Yeah.
Yeah, there was that.
and
There was that
were
moment.
granted clemency in exchange for your help in putting her back
Yes.
in her place.
There was that.
The tracking was it was basically your probation. It was your ankle monitor.
Mm-hmm.
So you do you. I just want to make sure that's clear in everybody's mind. What the consequences of that choice will literally make you the equivalent of federal fugitives. Guilty. It's this.
Okay, so we did do something illegal.
This is the modern day equivalent. It's kind of like if the CIA brought you in because they knew you had sold an out of date nuclear weapon stolen from U.S. military facility to Iran, and they brought you in, and they're like, "You did this. We know you did it. We have evidence that you did it." And you're like, "Yeah, we did it. Yeah, sorry, we
Our
did that."
bad.
And then they were like, "All right, instead of just shooting you in the head, we're gonna monitor you, and you're gonna help extract this thing and get it back so that people don't die." And you're like, "Got it." And then you leave and take off the ankle monitor and go, "Bye. We're going to Cuba." Right? That is. I just want to be clear that that is what's happening here. So this is not like when you think about what the Synod will likely do, or what anyone who's connected to this will do when they realize what has happened, or if anyone gets wind of you departing the area or
the
abandoning.
Minotaurs could
Right.
tell everybody else on the continent that we're responsible for this. Yeah.
So I'm
Cool,
not.
so we're fugitives
This is
again.
not the DM pushing you in one direction or another. It's the DM pointing out what your characters would definitely know and think about, especially Bottom, who is probably running through all these scenarios in his head.
Yeah.
Like,
No, he's the one that's like, let's do this.
right. Which again is fine. I'm supportive of any direction here. Just know these are not. It's not like skipping out on a bar tab.
No.
Right.
And like Pando doesn't actually agree that Upido isn't our problem, or that Upido isn't more dangerous than.
That's been very clear from the beginning.
Yes. So I actually feel in opposition, but I don't feel like we are prepared as to what we're gonna do if we come across her. And so I'm like, okay, I have some kind of new link to this situation, so I'm gonna try to maintain control over it, but I'll try to gather information about it as we go. Because even if we all committed right now to continue after Upido, it's gonna be like that giant moving war machine that we were like, we got this, and then it killed Beatty.
Yeah.
That's my thought. That's my thought process.
Yeah.
Like, not in agreement that we don't need to take some kind of responsibility. I'm just like, what are we gonna do? Am I gonna thorn whip it? I don't know how to beat Upido. So maybe if we continue this research about your technology, my thought process is we'll have something strong enough.
I just don't think that we're strong enough either. I just don't think that we are.
Mhm.
I agree with that. I don't know. Number one, we have no idea where to look for her. We've just been wandering aimlessly around. I mean, we have two leads here on where to
But
go.
again,
and
we don't even know if it's real time or past
Exactly.
or future. Like, they're as close as we have, but
And we have no idea what we're up against. If we saw her in her weakest state,
Right.
and we barely could,
Yeah.
that's what I worry about too.
Oh, I think we
Okay.
thrashed her real good in her weakest state.
Yeah.
but she's no longer in her weakest state.
True.
It's just
So that's my perspective. Not necessarily like, yay, we skated the system, but like, what are we gonna do? You know?
Yeah. Fuck it.
Fuck it for now. Fuck it for
That's
now.
what I've been saying.
That's what I'm saying this whole time, you guys.
Panda feels really strongly.
Let it burn.
Really strongly, like she can totally have control over this Raven thing because she was able to gain control in some capacity before and learn from it. Not just like the whereabouts, but maybe like more
I
about
think-
the progress.
I
of
would like to
Upido.
know. I want to know if you can interact in there.
I mean,
I wanna know
Shota
if we can-
said I can take control of it, so
I want to know if you can interact, if Upido can see you, and if you could possibly talk to her.
maybe. And I'd be
I
willing
wa-
to
I
try
wanna-
it.
I want to know a little bit more about Upido's perspective on
Yeah.
things, too. I want to know where Upido's coming from. So, do we? Here's what I think we should do. I mean, we have a couple of days, possibly a day or two, and you want to talk to Sendek. Have some time to relax. You have some time
Relax,
to
Pando.
Why don't you
Take a
relax,
nap.
Pando? Why don't we do a little experimentation while we're here and just see if you can make contact? If you know,
I
I
think
mean,
that
I
Air
could-
also wanted to talk with Sendek as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember why Air wanted to.
I don't think that Air.
Revealed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Secret of Air.
okay.
I know.
But
Seriously.
But here's the thing: is that Shota clearly had an idea of what your oracle is. Maybe she's the one, or at least now that we're here in a university of wizards, that there would be possibly a group that could guide you in using it.
I mean, maybe, yeah. Would there be? Can I roll for that?
Well, you can ask around, but the first thing I will tell you is that as you arrive at the Maib and get sort of settled in, you learn very quickly that Professor Sendak has already departed.
Oh, for the monoliths.
He was eager
Departed
to
from
wrap
where?
up.
The monoliths.
He was eager to wrap up his grading of papers, end the semester, and take his sabbatical to go see this place that Potom got him all fired up about. And
He
he's
did tell
on
me
his
that he
way.
was- that he was going to
So,
possibly be
can I
going
ask
there.
an obvious question that I forgot to ask? Is
Sure.
the monolith that I'm seeing in my dream the same as the monolith that...
No, very different.
Okay.
Very
Okay.
different.
But you've seen the monolith that I'm talking about. It was on our way to
Right.
the one that I mapped
That's
out.
what I was
So
wondering.
that's-
So what I
oh, I
saw
got
in my
you.
dream was
That
the same.
space is like out in the jungle. It's hundreds of stone plinths
And the
rising.
monoliths
How far
themselves
away?
are
Natural
different.
looking
Way
stone
on-
plinths that
Gotcha.
rise out. This monolith that you're seeing
Might
is
have to
literally like a constructed
before we-
obelisk of black
Okay.
stone surrounded
With
by
like the
ruins.
pops out of it.
Yeah. And it's among ruined buildings.
Okay.
You're pretty confident based on the landscape around it that it is somewhere in the wound.
Gotcha.
Oh, now I'm torn. Because I think that we should go back to the monoliths to see Professor Sendek, who, by the time that we get there, might have more answers about our shared information.
Again, not pressuring, but if you're looking for information about your Raven Skull charm, everyone that you talk to directs you to Professor Sendak.
Okay.
Because
Oh.
he's the closest thing to
Right.
a researcher on this kind of magic that exists here. No one here studies the wild.
That's
And Sendak doesn't really either, but all the wizards here, kind of like Potom's like magic bias, all the wizards here are like, oh, that's not arcane. You want to talk to Sendak. He deals with all that other stuff, right? All the non-real magic that we do, right? Like the grown-up magic based on science and smarts, all that gaudy stuff. That's a Sendak thing. You're gonna want to talk to. We don't know anything about this. That doesn't necessarily mean he's gonna know everything about it either, but he's where they would have directed you.
Well, and I'm very interested in trying to communicate with Cupido through my dream, but I don't feel safe. Like everything in me is telling me it's not safe to do it right now. Like I don't have enough control in the situation.
Well, you were warned very clearly that it's not safe.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, it was. Shota was
But I
not
also feel
subtle.
it. I also feel it.
Yeah.
I got a vibe with this thing.
Well,
So, I have a quick, just a question. So, Upido in your vision said that she was going to Harmajabal first, right? And then to
that is what she said.
Kaga, you-
that she
Yes,
would,
that's the order
but
of
she
operation.
said that she would check back in with Festiche on her return from Harmajabal
Yeah.
before moving on to Kagayaku.
But we don't know if this is happening now.
we don't,
right?
You don't.
Time is unclear.
Time is wibbly wobbly
Yeah.
soup. Yeah.
But yes, that is exactly what happened in my dream. So Freya's north is her place. Which direction is the monolith? The monoliths you guys studied.
The monoliths,
To like the western side of the wound. It was
It's-
southwest of the
it
wound.
is southwest. It's between Nantong and Kinkosh, the
Okay.
hidden city.
Okay.
Teshiar, the hidden city, which was at the source of the Kinkosh River. South of the wound, but in between those two
Okay.
is where you found that. So it's quite close to Teshiar.
Okay.
it's far.
It's quite the journey from here, unless
Yeah.
you proceed directly through the wound, if you shortcut through the wound, it is not.
I'm fine with
It's
that.
about the same journey through the wound as it would be to go around to Nantong. If you go around to Nantong, it's an extra couple days to go down the
I
river.
would imagine it too if we could study a map before we go, that Potom would be able to draw that line that he explained from the city, the line that the ghouls have been traversing, that we could
Just walk down the
hopefully
line.
avoid that.
Oh.
Yeah, no.
I'd like to walk down the line.
Yeah.
Well, we could walk the line.
Well, I will also tell you, the researchers at the Maib are very excited that you have firsthand intel about from inside the wound. Very few people have gone to the wound and returned with good data about the lay of the land and the location of things and things like that. So
And also don't underestimate the frogs.
yeah, right. So cartographers and biologists want to pick your brain and
Yeah.
talk to you, and I think with your level of intellect at this point, you're not quite photographic memory level, but your recall is quite good, and you can help them. And I think you substantially help them update their maps of the wound in a pretty significant way. And in return, you're able to take some of those maps and you can visualize a very clear line, the northern line at least, based on the points that you saw. And it is painfully obvious to you that it is pointed directly at the Harmad Jabal. That's where the ghouls are headed.
Sure. And I express all of this to these intel grabbers.
Okay. I think some of the leaders then at the Maib would send riders ahead to some of the settlements that live near or on that line to pass warning that this attack is coming. And they would send messengers back to Nantong to inform the Sinak that
That we're working on the problem!
Yes, that's what it looks like.
that these are moving, because they'll want to send Minotaur forces to
Yeah.
intercept and try to protect and fight.
So
them.
it looks like we're still, I mean,
Let's-
the optics of this is that we are still
Yeah.
helping.
And just to, venture a guess, that the armies are also heading to Kagagayagu?
Kagayaku.
Yeah.
Yep.
That they're, if they're heading to, if the undead armies are heading to Harmad Jabal, they're probably
did
also
see-
heading south?
That would make sense because where we were in the wound, weren't there two paths?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
One
North and
north, one
south.
south.
Yeah.
We'll relay that
it's a
information
reasonable,
as well. That
it's a
they're-
reasonable conclusion.
It
You
is.
don't have good map evidence for that because you didn't
Right.
actually get visibility on the southern path.
Sure.
Uh,
It's a theory.
You just knew it was heading south,
Yep.
but it is a theory. Yep. Should that theory be true, that path would pass far south of Teshiar or Nantong, and so wouldn't directly threaten either of those major settlements. But there are
Okay.
lots of other Minotaur settlements further south, and so I think those same messengers would be passing that kind of warning along. That undead troops are on the move.
Look how helpful we've been.
Yeah, you should definitely feel guilt-free.
I sleep well.
Box checked.
I mean, in a way, and I'm
It's just
really
that
not
my
trying to
brain's so
justify it,
tired.
but in a way, like, Pino is still trying to figure out the Upido situation. She's just not running toward Upido. She's trying to understand it more through her dreams.
Well, speaking of her dreams, another night has passed
Oh.
because you have journeyed through the day and then bedded down at an inn in the Maib Sahir. And once again, for the fourth night in a row, Pando drifts off and becomes one with the spirit raven.
You know, all I picture is from Game of Thrones. When
Yeah.
Brandon has his, just because, like, that's what comes to my head, the three-eyed raven.
Yeah.
Bran.
It's- It's a little like that. Right? You see from the perspective of the raven.
Yeah.
I would say the difference is when you look down at yourself, you're not tangible.
Okay.
It's a spectral raven. In this dream, for the first time, the location and landscape are different. Below you and slightly to your left, you see that someone is flying along with you up here in the sky, and it is Eupedo.
Oh no.
Eupedo is flying above a broad stretch of low hills, and ahead in the distance you can see a crest of mountains rising, a range covered in snow-capped peaks and rugged landscape. You and Eupedo fly in that direction. She's not hundreds of feet in the air or anything, but she's sort of, the two of you are probably flying 15, 20 feet above the surface. This vision remains the same, it seems, for minutes at a time. She's just silently flying, and you're sort of pacing her just back and to the right.
Do I have an understanding of where we are?
I would say, based on some of your conversations with folks at the Maib and Shota and landmarks and things like that, I mean, you're not intimately familiar with this area, but it's not super subtle. That mountain range is the same mountain range you were cricketing towards. It's the mountain range north of the Maib.
Okay.
You're not great at estimating distances from the eyeballs of this spirit raven. She's not there yet, but she's clearly moving in that direction. But she's all alone, just flying solitary and quiet. It's a little odd as you watch her because the wind only affects about 2/3 of her in the way that it should. So you see her hair and her clothing kind of rippling in the breeze. It's hard to tell how fast she's moving. It's not slow because there is definitely wind that is being created by her movement. But the last third of her becomes very insubstantial, and the way that the train of her dress and the chains hanging off the back of her sort of veil and sleeves and the edges of her dress, they ripple and move, but it doesn't match the wind that is blowing across the rest of her. After a few minutes of flying past, Eupedo suddenly glances to the side and makes direct eye contact with you. Hello, little raven. Who sends you? And as she says this,
I was saying, I wake up.
Okay. You're going to choose to wake?
Not yet.
Okay. So after she says that,
Crow poop a little.
she slowly starts to drift closer to you as she's looking right at you.
Can I speak?
You can do whatever.
You can try.
No, okay.
You can try all kinds of things.
So, this is so stupid. I'm gonna tell her that I'm the one that brought her back.
What are the words you try to say?
I'm the one who brought you back. I'm here to understand more about what you're trying to do.
Okay. You attempt to speak. That, as awesome as that would be, yeah. That's your control or influence over this dream state is extremely new and tenuous. And your intent to try to communicate with Eupedo, rather than coming out as a vocalization, what happens is that the raven veers towards her. And she was already moving towards you. And as you get close, she reaches towards you with her hand. Do you do anything?
I dive away. Not like dive bomb away, but I,
Okay, so you're going to attempt
Avoid.
to stay in the dream but dodge.
yes.
Okay. Give me a wisdom check.
So I have to write all this or I will forget everything. Is that survival?
No, just roll and add your wisdom modifier. That's your straight,
Oh, just a
straight
D20?
wisdom. Hmm.
And then wisdom. Okay, sorry. And 1 plus 5.
Oh.
A 1,
Plus 5.
a 6. Seeing Eupedo close with you, you panic a little and try to pull the raven away, but your grasp, your influence over the dream slips. And Eupedo reaches out and plucks a single feather from the wing of the raven. And as you begin to wake from the dream, as the dream shatters around you,
My other ear.
and both of your ears are gone. No,
Both of your
Huh?
ears.
but as you begin to wake, as the dream shatters around you, you hear the echo of Eupedo's voice in your ears. And what she says is, "How curious. We'll speak again soon. I see you." You're going to
Whoa.
take 12 points of psychic damage
Ooh, okay.
as you awaken with a blistering headache and blood running down your face from your
Damn.
nose.
Is it under conditions? No,
No, it's just damage.
just damage.
Yeah, just going to
Okay,
take 12 points of damage.
Little panda can't do that.
It's probably 3 in the morning, and you wake up just like you just took 3 shots of espresso, and your nose is bleeding, and
you had experienced a slight electric shock.
yeah, and your head is pounding, and all your muscles feel like you've been tensing them for several minutes. You're in rough shape. And unfortunately, you know that she bridged this, whatever it is, connection. So,
Long rest, anyone?
well, that was your attempt at a long rest.
It's true, my long rests are no longer like healing. Now they're dingy.
And for everyone else, the sun rises on the 26th day since the release of Eupedo. It is morning in the Maib Sihir, and this is where I should ask, what time in the real world do you all want to wrap this session today?
I will need to scoot at 5.
Okay. That
Yeah.
good for everybody
We're
else?
fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that gives us a little bit of time if there's things that you want to do in town, things you want to set in motion, or if you want to begin a journey of some kind. You obviously are hanging out in a place of great knowledge and resource. So if
I
there are
share my
additional
dream
questions,
with them, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna. I want you guys to know everything I know.
Could we go up to Harma Jabal before we go down to the monoliths? It's a very long journey down to the monoliths. I think we should check out Harmon Chapel.
I think that,
I know we don't know how to fight her, but
I think that
she's connected to us now. I mean, she's connected to me.
yeah, I think that the smarter move would go to find Sendek so that, I mean, there are 3 characters here who need his expertise.
yeah, I'm not
4
saying that I don't
you
want to go down because
Want to
I would like to.
understand your-
I would like to see what happens with Asmund Kimbo when I go back to the place where I scooped him up.
Mhm.
I am interested in that. Okay, I mean, yeah, I get it. It's just
I think
that
at this
feel
point,
like
we'll need some. Well, I mean,
it's a long way
Just my
away.
stance
Well,
on
although I mean, I guess if we're going south, then if we wanna check out something with her after we've gone down there, we can go to Kagayaku. Kagayaku
Yeah.
would probably be a short.
might even get there.
Okay, it's a hard word to say.
Yeah.
We might even get there
Kagayaku.
before her.
Kaga, not gonna go there.
Well,
I have been really interested. That is the one that cache is the one that has been always very interesting to me. The one that's under the water. You know, we may have some options. We may have some options there. Yupito's the only one that can unseal it. Oh, you know.
the note you found in the archive suggested that cache might be found off the coast in a coral reef,
In a
which is
coral-
kind of neat.
It is kind of neat.
Yeah.
I also have been holding on to this potion that I can breathe underwater. So just to throw that.
I
out there
think
to you guys.
I think I have a potion equipped that helps us do that too.
Well, so that's just what I'm saying. So I guess if you are kind of monitoring, say it is possibly in real time that's happening, or generally in real time of what's happening with Yupito. We don't know if it is or not. I already know,
I mean,
but
I
that's
got
all we can
real-time
actually go.
hurt.
That's all we can actually go off of. So if we do travel south, it's the thought of we have a way to keep monitoring her. Not only does she know where we are, that we're connected to her, we have a way of monitoring where she is also, or
Mhm.
you do at night, you know,
Mhm.
I think.
And I would really like to know, I mean, the only potential person that I'm aware of at this moment who might be able to offer any additional help would be Professor Sendek.
I know. We gotta go down to him.
Yeah.
Also, I just reminded myself from my notes that in session 30, you got a replacement cricket. So I've been acting like you didn't have a cricket this whole time.
I got a
about
replacement
that.
cricket.
You got a replacement cricket named Jive Turkey.
That's
With-
right!
Was that a session where we were drinking?
Almost certainly. And so I just need to bring that back into the canon.
There's
Jive Turkey,
been
how could we
fans.
forget
There's been
you?
fans yelling Jive Turkey for the
Right?
last.
They
what
have
session
been-
are we
I've
on now?
missed it. I've
Furious.
missed it.
They've
Yeah.
been furious.
So we've forgotten about Jive Turkey.
So let's
That
please,
sounds like a night of
let's
some
please
whiskey and
respect
mead.
the Jive Turkey.
Oh, that's
Turkey.
not. Yes, we need Jive Turkey.
Thank you so much. I had no memory of that.
Yeah, he needs to be seen.
I remember Jive Turkey now.
God bless Jive Turkey.
And it's spelled with 2 E's at the end.
Of course it is.
There's no Y.
It should be with an accent. It should be Jive Turkey.
Jive
With a little-
Turkey.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jive Turkey is much
Jive,
better.
Jive Turkey.
Yeah, that's.
I should probably.
That's
We
fun.
found that out one time. I'm just bored while I'm sitting around waiting for you guys to do what you're gonna do. So I just go in, cast Talk Beast, talk to Jive Turkey one day.
And he's
find out
like-
that it's Jive Turkey.
He's like, can you please tell people they've been mispronouncing my name?
It's Jive Turkey.
There is an accent aigu.
Accent aigu. It's Jive Turkey.
Jive Turkey.
Oh my god.
I can use cure wounds on myself, right?
You may.
I feel like I should. I'm so soft and squishy as an elf.
Okay, so again, here on day 26, what Where are you investing your time? Pando came in to breakfast in rough shape. Probably a little cleaned up if you're casting Cure Wounds and I'm, cleaning up your bloody nose. But she comes in not a great way with
Well,
an uncomfortable story.
I
What are you
mean,
doing with the day?
Could you take a long rest today?
I'm gonna use
I think
Cure
you need
Wounds
to
and
rest.
roll 13.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's fine.
I think we should just prepare for the road.
Okay. Yeah, let's get it going.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Okay. Where are you headed?
going to the monoliths.
Yeah, monoliths.
Okay.
Through the wound.
Through the wound. All right. Mapping a route through the wound. If you were traveling across normal territory, the direct shot from the Maib Sahir to the area of the monoliths near Teshiar, you are estimating that it would take it would be a 3-day journey. That's a direct shot. Now, there are a lot of assumptions baked into that 3 days that the wound is probably going to question.
Right.
A lot of the area you saw in the wound was difficult terrain, which would slow you down. There are obviously a variety of hazards, including aberrations and monstrosities and whatnot. But should things go well and you actually complete the journey in 3 days, it will be cutting 2 full days of travel off of your journey. The alternative is traveling through, going back around on the road that skirts the wound to Nantong, and then traveling up the river like you did the first time in the direction of Teshiar. So it's a 2-day difference, 3 days versus 5, if things go right.
Pando, is being in the wound opening you up more? Are you worried about being in the wound? if
I'm
it
not
opens
worried
you up
about
more?
being in the wound. I was
Okay.
very afraid of it at first, but now I feel like every time I'm in there, I understand the feeling.
Mm.
I invite one of the cartographers to come with us.
Ooh, that's a great idea.
They are terrified of that idea.
You are with a party of.
Warriors.
Panda gives a thumbs up.
All right.
We've clearly been to the
Freya
wound.
draws her sword in the dark.
Warriors.
Right?
We've clearly been
Dragon
to the wound.
princess.
Yes.
And I lean over and go, I can be a bear.
We've been to the wound and have returned. It's better than going alone. And just
I
think
mean, isn't
of the
there,
maps that you can draw.
isn't there a brave cartographer? Yeah, that wants to explore.
Yeah. Make a persuasion check.
Oh, can I do it? Can I
Are we
do it?
each trying to persuade one?
Oh wait, what do you have for persuasion?
I mean, that's up to you guys. Let me ask
Persuasion.
this: how hard are you trying to
Oh,
get a
Let's
bookish
try.
cartographer nerd from the library to come with you on this trip? Like, is this just a
The
lark
right
to
one.
see if somebody's jazzed about it, or is this like we really like are gonna push somebody and pressure them until they do
No,
it?
just
Well,
I'm
think
just
that
encouraging.
Potham would
but-
just lay out that that is a skill that he doesn't have.
Cartographers
But
are
you can-
also adventurers, aren't they? I mean, they have to be
He can-
to draw these.
The ones
maps.
that live at the university library, maybe a little less so, but I'm here for it. Well, I just wanted to understand how hard you're pushing.
I think that Potham lays it out in a logical sort of way of like, you're very interested in the information that I gave you. It would be better if you had firsthand knowledge of it. We are heading this way. You should come with us.
And Freya does say cartographers are adventurers at heart, are they not?
Okay. Roll a persuasion check.
At advantage because Freya is assisting.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, you have a plus anything?
I don't.
No, I have a plus 4.
I know you do, but I was the one that proposed it.
Oh well.
13.
13. The rather bookish cartographer that you have been speaking with, somewhat advanced in age, is very shy about the idea you're proposing. And he looks at all of you and says, I do not wish to imply that I am not deeply grateful for the information you've brought. You have advanced our maps of this region literally to an extent that we have not seen in years. And I'm thrilled about it, honestly. However, I draw maps. I'm not. Listen. Wait. Wait! And then he rushes off into a group of offices.
His name is Glenn.
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 That's his name. So Glenn rushes back from the offices, holding something wrapped in like a silken cloth. And he says, "I have something even better.
Okay.
If you would be willing to carry this with you on your journey, it is connected magically to a matching stone here in my offices that will allow me to calculate via magical positioning system your journey, and if as well along the way you would be willing to use the device to send me audible notes of what you are observing, I could update the maps live as you journey with really no risk to me at all. And I've been saving some of our department's budget for just such an occasion. Should you successfully carry, without missing a day of updates, this stone across the entirety of the wound for your projected journey, I could provide you with an honorarium of 300 gold pieces from our library's budget.
Sounds like a plan.
I will need you to return the stone either here to the Maib or to one of our library extension offices in Nantong.
What about a professor?
Oh,
Can
great!
we send
yeah.
it back with the professor?
If you happen to encounter a professor on your journeys, though I can't imagine any of our professors wandering the wound, but certainly as long as the stone returns, I would be happy to effect the transfer.
Yep.
We accept, but we also don't guarantee the safety of your equipment just by nature of our...
Oh, that's totally understandable. I assume you're going to die, but it's worth the risk, I assure you. The knowledge that you potentially could bring to the Maib is beyond measure.
So, are you paying the 300 up front?
Oh, no. The only way that the university allows me to make such payments is through writs of credit. So what I will do is give you a notarized letter from the dean allowing you to withdraw this amount from any bank operated by the Synok or, frankly, most of the banks in the Empire. The caveat being that until we send approval on the completion of your mission, no one will honor that letter. It's really quite a clean system when you think about it.
I believe that a down payment might be respectable for the for what you're offering or what you're asking us to do.
To assist in the journey.
Sure, everything you're saying makes a lot of sense outside of an institution of higher learning. But you...
Does your institution remember what we did just merely days ago for the institution?
We all remember. We saw it was cool. But listen, you strike me as a guy who's operated in a university system before. You know what the paperwork is like. If you go talk to the dean, maybe something else could get worked out. But this is what I'm able to do. I'm already handing you a very expensive piece of equipment and crossing my fingers that it'll even make it.
could go bring some ice cream to our friend.
300 gold pieces.
He's already gone.
Oh,
No, the dean.
The dean.
Oh, the
300 gold, by the way, is
his
more
name.
than I make in an entire year. A lot,
Yeah.
like a lot more.
yeah.
It's most of my department's budget.
I realize that, and it's also because you take 0 risk.
Yeah. Hey,
Well,
listen,
here.
I'm a librarian.
I think we should just get going. Let's take the thing. Let's just get going. We don't need. We're fine. We don't need the extra advance.
All right,
I
fine.
just say we don't need.
If we do it, we do it.
All right, you can add to their inventory a writ of credit
Are you adding it?
worth
Yeah.
300 gold pieces. And I'll remember this, but you can note that its current status is invalid.
You'll probably have to cut this for like, I don't know, copyright. But this is all I could think of. Oh, it's gonna be an ad. Did you ever see Superstore?
Oh.
You kicked Pastor Craig out of the store? I want the truth.
Yes.
Don't lie to me, Amy. You kicked him out.
I said yes. He was selling his
And
books
also
for
it would
limited
look like him
edition.
too.
Definitely, it's definitely that guy.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
I like that.
That was great.
All right, so
Like
you are
when?
now in what is wrapped in that silk cloth that was handed to you is a chunk of amethyst that is wrapped in copper wire, and for some reason that you can't understand, even though you understand exactly how this device works, there is what appears to be an owl feather stuck in there, and you look at it immediately, Potom, and go, well, that is an unnecessary. That is actually just getting in the way of this device doing its job well. Because all this thing is a transmitter that's clearly resonating with some receiver back in this guy's office, and you actually giggle a little bit when you see the owl feather because you're like, that's like a decoration. Like somebody stuck
nice,
an
though.
owl feather in here
It's
as a
sweet.
decoration.
This is so ugly.
No.
Better.
Yeah. When you remove the owl feather, you can see that it gets stronger. That the signal gets stronger.
Oh, that's funny.
It was less good because of the owl feather. All right. It doesn't take you long, apart from that, to equip yourselves for the journey. And your path away from the Maib takes you almost due south. You will not pass near Shota's, but you will pass near the fire swamp on your way south through the wound.
Now we're just back and forth,
Right?
Yeah.
By the way, I love your glasses. Are they new?
And these are just some reading glasses.
They're
Yeah.
cute.
Oh,
That
thanks.
red's
Yeah.
cute.
I like the wooden.
Yes, the
yeah.
little fake wood.
I like
and
it a lot.
I've had them for a long time, actually. They
They're
were
cute.
too strong originally, but now they're a little too weak.
The journeys of
Can-
time.
The
Panda-
journeys of time.
Can Panda? I feel like Panda's gonna treat this like an influencer, like with this rock that she's talking into, and be like, "Hey, Woundies, we're starting our journey."
Woundies. So no, I like
I
this.
feel like every time the panda's like, give me the rock.
Hey, can I
Give me
just
the
have-
can I just see it? And I would be like, no, God, no.
No, I like this very much.
Every move we make.
So this
Woundies.
this rock is imbued with the ability to cast what is essentially a message spell, but it's tied specifically to this receiver twice a day. The message spell is limited in how many words you can send with it. And so I think the idea was that you'd be able to send details like at the start of your day and the end of your day, or when you come across like a landmark or something of interest, that you'd have two opportunities to be like, hey, we found a waterfall, or there's a big pit of acid here, or whatever. Like
Important things.
Yeah, important things. But I love the idea that like once a day, or whenever she can pull it off, that Pando just grabs it and is like, Hey, fans of the Wound! Just some quick live streaming updates here. There's some flowers that are kind of funky looking. I saw what I think is a weasel, and yeah, it's a pretty nice day. Like that's just.
I think he
I
lives
think
in
you-
this tree.
Yeah.
You are like fast track to being besties with Gwen Gwen.
Right?
Okay, this is like fast
sure.
track. You are.
I think Gwen starts out really annoyed by it, and then later he's low-key
like,
looks forward to the Pando update.
Yeah, he's the one that's like, God,
He's my only woundie.
I wish that Rock Gnome would shut up with his facts. It's the worst part of the episode.
But like,
Meanwhile, it's
how-
all really important,
Right.
Yeah.
like valuable.
But every once in a while, he's like, yeah, but how's Jive Turkey doing?
Jive Turkey.
Jive Turkey. We haven't had a Jive Turkey update in a while.
Yeah.
Jive Turkey had a good morning.
He's like grumpy about it because it's been 2 days since the Jive Turkey update came through. It's all over the feeds, all over the comments in the feed. Like, WTF, when are we going to hear? Yeah,
Jive
The
Turkey.
only subscriber, Glenn.
I like that a lot. All right, so I think when we pick up next time, we'll do some travel rolls. The good news is I've already built a travel table for the Wound, for traveling through the Wound, so I don't have to design that. I prepared for several possibilities, one of which is that you would decide to travel across the Wound, and so we'll be able to roll for that, for some travel days across the Wound.
Above table, are we surprising you or are we not surprising you with our choices?
Above the table, I will say that your sudden campaign to abandon the Upido plotline was a little bit of a surprise, but not entirely. I'll give you some transparency into my prep notes for today.
Prep note number 1, Alex is here.
I
This
wrote-
is gonna go wild.
So I wrote option 1, the party begins to travel to Harmajabal, takes 4 days with crickets. Option 2, they begin traveling southwest towards the glowing coast, 12 days by cricket. Option 3, they go mess around in the Wound, and I've got some notes about what lives there. And it says option 4, they do whatever. That's just
Which was always going to be what the option
Yeah.
was.
So,
dot,
I mean,
dot,
obviously it's been
improv it
3
is
years,
basically
so
what Yeah.
is it, I mean, not like it'll change. We're always going to be, I think, wily, and this is why I love this so much, but like, is it fun, frustrating, or both? When players are like, bing, we're going this
Yeah.
direction. Although I do think the reasons make sense.
Yeah.
Like, I think, like, wanting to go to your homeland because you
Homeland.
have this.
Well, you know, we do have like the protection too
Yeah.
of my clan from the Minotaurs.
I think the very
It's a
different
big-
reasons
Yeah.
make sense.
So what I will say is it is definitely both.
Yeah.
Here's the joy of it for me is this is fun as long as I think about this as a game we're gonna play like kind of forever,
Yeah.
right? Because if that's how this works, if we just keep playing together and we've got
for 20 years.
if we pull that miracle off, then the sandbox is great. We can go wherever, we can do whatever, and then I get to spend time like figuring out what happens in the world when you're not there,
Yeah.
and that's actually really fun to me. So like, you step away from Upido, like I said this before, you step away from Upido for 6 months, some crazy stuff is going to happen
Exactly.
Yeah.
in the world,
Yeah.
and you may never see it,
Well,
but
what's
it's
crazy
going to
about
happen.
this session is we made a choice to step away from it, yet I got closer to it.
Yeah.
And we got sucked back in.
Yeah.
Right.
What I will say is
And
that
like we were gonna go north, but now we're going south.
the other side of this that sometimes where I worry is if this isn't a long-term thing, right? What made me sad about my last campaign is I built a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
I built this what I thought was this really cool plot arc that is still happening in the world, by the way, because you're in the
In
same
our world?
Yeah, because you're in the same world. So I haven't stopped writing that
Yeah.
arc, but I had it, and then the campaign ended because the people stopped playing.
How long was that campaign?
We played for almost 2 years, or did
Yeah.
we 2 years?
Girl, we're
Was
at
it-
like
it
3
might
and a
have been
half or
over-
something.
It might
We're
have
just
been
gonna
just
keep
over
going.
Yeah. So, what will make me sad and frustrated is if like if we fizzle out and stop playing, and I'm like, I wrote all of these plots and we didn't tie up a loose end on anything. Like if I
Right.
create 4 big bads and you guys
Right.
never have a boss fight,
Right.
I'll be like, didn't you want to fight a final boss?
After
like you
5 years,
Right?
did you
Yeah.
want to fight one?
Yeah, you guys created like 8
Right.
final bosses, and I built out their master plans for world domination, and you just kept skipping town on them to go start another one. Like then I'll lose my mind. But
I do